Hey, what's going on,
Live.
everybody? It's Smiley's Garden, and this is the organic takeover. This week we got Bob on the job, Rasta Bob. You guys might be familiar with him. A lot of people in chat have seen Bob around on some shows, but awesome. Looking forward to talking with you about some gardening here, Bob. How you doing, man?
Yeah, man, give thanks for the moment, give thanks for life, and really give thanks for the truth and the opportunity to present. So, yeah, that's basically it, really give thanks for the moment. And I guess you can just steer the conversation so we don't get carried away. Yeah.
Yeah, no, man, that's no, I know you just do a lot of different things, and I really wanted to try to pick your brain somewhat on some of the different styles of gardening, and I know you had a guest maybe lined up too that might jump in. So I don't know if you wanted to do an intro for that, or we can kind of go other elsewhere too until she gets
Well,
here.
I told her we'll be on for a couple hours, so I really wanted to make it comfortable for her convenience. And I didn't really know, but today is actually a big day in her life. So it was really cool that she even agreed to come in. But it's a whole facility in Jamaica here. They call it the Source Farm Eco Village. So it kind of encompasses the whole permaculture lifestyle into a village setting. So you have your kind of big farm and everybody has their individual, living accommodations, but then they all pull together and do share the work, and who shares the cooking, and different things like that. And they have a school on the property, so different classes. So it's just like organic living all encompassed, so your whole families can, like me personally, I might not be qualified like to go to high school, but I'm sure I can take care of the kids. Uncle Bob, so I can do the ABC 1, 2, 3 kind of, the kindergarten kind of, and the arts and craft and stuff like that. But then you have qualified individuals within the community, that provide. And I really reached out to them, especially when the whole medicinal marijuana was legalized in Jamaica. They have been organically certified for many years. And I'm sure she'll go into more detail where that's concerned. I don't want to get too, you know, um,
Yeah,
miss up the details, I don't want to get, mess up the data. However, they have this good permaculture, good, and they have been doing classes on permaculture and people flying in all over, because it's hard to really find, from what I'm understanding, to have organic certified properties. It does take a bit of a while. I mean, even the international, what is it, the International Organization of Organic Movement, but they have an international movement.
yeah, yeah,
So then the Jamaica would have like their charter underneath it, and then you have Europe have their charter underneath it, and states in America has their charter underneath it. So it's kind of globally compliant. But to get to that point, it's really it's a struggle for most people, especially if you're starting from a salt-based or a previously salt-based land. But I guess you have places that are fortunate that weren't been planted and weren't been, heavily farmed that way. So if you start with fresh virgin land, you probably get your designation a little easier once you set up. But I still think even then it's still going to take maybe a 3 to 4 year process. So most farms it takes them 7 years, in that range to kind of get that perfection permaculture status kind of going. So they were already doing it fully organic certified, and they were doing courses. So obviously with the attraction of the medicinal industry or the medicinal ganja industry, a good team of us came together, satire, good, another brethren of and a good, set of agriculturists, and myself was very, fortunate to be a part of it. And yeah, we came together. So we do like a nice course where they have like 3 to 4 weeks of permaculture, and then 2 weeks of medicinal cannabis where that's concerned. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So I'm just looking forward to see what she can bring. But definitely let's dive into the organic garden in between while she fills in. I don't want to step on up. I hear the phone ring. It might actually be her calling. If
yeah.
you
Go
don't
ahead,
mind,
man.
let
Grab
me
that.
just
Grab
yeah.
that, or whatever. I can shout out to some guys in chat. What's going on, chat? See Chad and Brad, Family Farms, Johnny Caniseed, BX Gunner, CJ Apple. What's going on, buddy? C Dub from NorCal. appreciate all you guys coming out for the show tonight. So looking forward to hanging out, talk a little permaculture. I guess if anybody's not sure the term of permaculture, but there's God probably not even get the definition right, but it would be growing multiple different species throughout the land. And I know there's a lot of work they do to change the land with water swells and different things to collect water too. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, man.
How would you define permaculture, Bob?
Man, this is where I need Nicole to come in, but
Okay.
definitely I would 100% say definitely a permanent culture. I just really draw for the exact definition of the word. So anything you're doing that in some level has evidence of permanency in it. You know, so it's a conscious step to whatever implements you're putting in place to have it down the road setting for whatever I'm putting on. So for example, you're putting a concrete block. This is going to be concrete that's going to be in the ground for 20, 30 years or whatever it is. So a lot of people put in these posts with these preconceived ideas that that's why they're doing it, because it's a solid foundation, it does this and it does that. So within permaculture, within what we would like to encourage is more regenerative approach in regards to the permaculture directly. Hello. Good
There she
evening.
is.
I think she's finally in.
How are you, Naomi? Nomi. Sorry.
Well, I think that might actually be one of our workers' names, but you know, we take any help we can get. It took me a while to figure out how to put in Bob on the job and all these fancy things. So while she's getting set up, you know. But yeah, in terms of the permaculture and the permaculture movement, where we'd want to highlight it is that it's a more organic based, regenerative flow in permaculture. So permaculture does kind of exist on a whole, but when we set it or when we highlight it or when we speak towards it, we're really thinking of something that's more pleasantly beneficial to Mother Earth and its environment on a permanent basis. So if I was to sum it up, that's how we do it, you know. So not even to us directly, what would be beneficial to, you know, Earth and its sustainability, including us for a permanent basis. That's how I would sum it up on a whole, you know.
I like that a lot.
So,
That is, that's kind of the whole idea of being regenerative too, you know, building for the long term, the long haul. So.
And in the permaculture where it really highlights, like, was really drawn into it, I really realized that most of my movements is along that line, is when you really start farming, maybe you won't even start doing anything for the first 1 to 3 to 4 months, maybe even up to a year. You just spend a lot of time just watching the land. You just really watching the natural flow of the land, what kind of fauna grows there. When it rains heavily, where does the rain fall? When the wind blows heavily, when does it happen? So that way, when you start implementing things on the land, you work with the natural contour and the path of least resistance, or you implement things that, you know, can help you build a permanency in terms of the culture that is a, you know, sustainable process for Mother Earth and its environments right there. So if you just start within January, maybe you don't know what it looks like when it rains. So where you build your trenches or where you build your land swales or whatever, it could be really you know, in a line, or you make your work more difficult. That's what I'm trying to say, you know. So things like these are you have to be super conscious where you're concerned. So it's not super attractive to the commercial aspect of agriculture farming. However, to the sustainability of Earth and, you know, its environments, then we can see that it is the way definitely to go, you know, for a more sustainable run.
No doubt. So before we went live, you had mentioned somebody from Michigan that had gone down and stayed, and so that's like a class, like you go and live there and you get educated on the permacultures over your time staying there. Is that kind of how that works?
Yeah, man. So they do several courses throughout the year. And you know, you have different schools across the globe that kind of does this. But when I found this in Jamaica, and they have several of them actually, but this was one that I got working with. And yeah, it was fortunate enough that we have a lot of international people. I think it's maybe even 50-50. Like if you have, just for argument's sake, 10 students, five of them would be international and five would be kind of local or Caribbean. So I mean, you know, Zimbabwe, Australia, you see people coming in from all over, you know, so it's kind of cool. So you get to do like a 3 to 4 week permaculture course that you do get certified in terms of understanding the concepts and the principles and the applications thereof. Because remember, you're on a farm. So even though you have, you know, your sleeping area and you have your classroom setting, it's living hands-on in the soil, you know, and it's not fancy dancy. This is permaculture. So they try to incorporate the natural terrain of the land, you know, using, we say shop at the Home Depot as a joke, but you really look in your backyard and see what we're going to use. You know, really shop at the Home Depot, see which trees, if we're gonna have to cut any trees, can we repurpose them? Can we reuse them? You know, and they use them now to help build the beds or build posts or, you know, whatever you need to do on the land. So they really get a full hands-on concept of seeing everything from start to finish of how that course setting. All right. Are you with
Hey,
us?
finally getting in. It took me a hot second, but I'm here. And let me just change up my name.
All right. I
to,
was trying to do my best to give a synopsis of permaculture and, you know, the whole definitions, but you know, and then the course offering. So I really just gave them a general view of, you know, what's offering. And I mentioned to them that we have people from, you know, there was even a couple from Michigan that came in. But as far as I think the courses are normally 50-50 in terms of international and local base. So it's very attractive, you know, how it's set up because of the hands-on principles and concept. And you get to live it. It's not only like you go to school and then you go home, you know, you kind of are living fully within that eco village. And then the medicinal marijuana plot, I was, you know, very happy to or humbled to be asked to be a part of it. And me and my friend, especially Satire, and there's a few other ones that, you know, really came in. So it was a really good, you know, offering in my opinion, you know, that could really be brought out. And we have seen, you know, even results, people calling and said, yeah, we did really good for us. So, you know, it was just a small offering. So I'm sure we can, you know, go into a little more with Nicole a bit and then I can take on the late night shift, you know what I mean?
okay.
Most definitely. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us we didn't say the farm, the source farm, but yeah.
Okay. Well, hi, everybody. My name is Nicola Shirley Phillips, and I'm one of the directors here at Source Farms. And we've been around underground for about going on like 13, 14 years. Kind of coming back to Jamaica, a number of us coming back and wanted to see how we can do some community development work. And we kind of fell into the space. We have 63 acres of land on this particular property in St. Thomas. And we kind of came back to do a kind of some work in this particular parish because St. Thomas is a parish that's been left behind. So we kind of came with like a community economic development strategy and see what we can do for the community and how people that have been in the diaspora can kind of link in and do some work. And then it kind of led us to seeing like trying to do everything. So we had to, you know, we come into this thing in the eco village, so we have to figure out how to build a house. So we're building earth bag and doing monolithic domes to, you know, obviously how we want to eat or the kind of foods we want to eat, realizing we have to like start from scratch with the organic farming. And it's like one thing has kind of led to another thing, just like village scale. So everything we have to do in village scale, we have to kind of refigure it out because, you know, the system kind of made the designs on you. So we had to kind of redesign our own system. So we kind of had to do from everything from, you know, solar to wind. And then as we're doing it, we're teaching. So I know this program is kind of focused on, you know, on urban stuff. So for us, what I saw happening, you know, when they decided that they were going to, you know, take off some of the restrictions, and it's still an issue. And, you know, he'll tell you that it's still an issue with what's going on. A lot of foolishness are going on. But for us, because we have this environmental work we do, I just saw we have our farmers that are farming in Jamaica, and they're using a lot of. There's some good traditional models that they can use, but a lot of it has been whatever was left over from this plantation, plantocracy kind of system, and everybody kind of hide up doing it, still growing, but still not doing it well. People would come and say, oh, years ago in the 60s, 70s when I came, got good herb, and now it's, people have lost, kind of lost some ways. But also there's the impact on the land. As the government said that they're going to do something, whenever the government here get involved with anything, is pure madness go on. So we just said, wait a second, if we're going to do this, what's the environmental impact of this? And how we're going to also work with the people who have been growing for a while and make sure that they can kind of get a say in what happens. So we were the first ones to kind of touch out to Oxfordham at first, and they came, we invited them in because we're always about education. Most of the people here, we're learning and sharing and trying to figure the things out. And so we tried to work with them, but they kind of got caught up into the other course thing and kind of left us. But we continue to try to figure out how we can educate more people about not just obviously growing, but the whole system. And also, because you can just grow weed and not grow enough food, and then what's going to happen? You have to go take it and buy food. So to make sure we're doing it in a more holistic way. And so we offer the course. This is, I think, would be our, for 2021 would be our third offering. So right now we're the only people in the Caribbean that have offered a sacramental course or any kind of course offering to kind of look at permaculture and how do we make sure you design your farms and design your systems to work with you, not against you. And so it's important for us to kind of continue that trend. And so we actually, it's really funny. We actually wrote the standards, helped write the standards for the facility standards for the training, and also with Sata and the other guys that help looked at some of the work that they are trying to do, because they still have to train up people, because it's crazy. Like it's a little crazy, because they're saying nobody who has ever had been to court or anything about weed can't work in the farm. But who's going to work in the farm? Because this is the people who actually know what is going on. So we're trying to figure out how that's going to work. So Heart Trust is a place that usually do the training in Jamaica for all different levels of skill levels. So they came to us and we kind of helped them put some things together. So we're waiting to see if they're going to actually implement anything.
Interject a small, just to give it a little breather. I think on a whole, this is a point that I find globally is an issue. So you have a system that's in place, but then anybody with a record or a cannabis record, say a federal record, you cannot work in the industry. And these would be called skilled individuals that we would need to employ because they have the knowledge and the previous training. So it's kind of illogical, and it's there difficult because, the labor force is what's needed to really drive agriculture, as much as we'd like to put in machines and implement things. So we'll find that right too. So what I'm thinking, Miss Nicole has highlighted, is that she has been used like local training agencies. So, every government agency, that's probably a good note to take for most people out there watching, that you can go to your local training agencies that take people like out of high schools. Every state and every, district kind of have these kind of, training institutions that you can probably reach out to and get in, some of these workers from scratch. And especially once created your SOPs and your training development plans, it's easy now to roll it out, a bit easier. So I just wanted to highlight it because it's something that I hear repetitively over and over. Staffing, the skilled ones you cannot employ. The people who you really want to employ is like my police record. That's really that's like my CV right now. That's what really shows that I know about cannabis. So you caught me planting or cultivating. I got that charge in 90s, or I got that charge in 2000. There you go. I have 20 years experience in this thing. So, it should look good, but it doesn't work way, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So sorry about that interjection.
No, it's important. It's important. Yeah. So
And
Yeah,
I
so
just
I
want to say,
mean,
for our international viewers, just a bit slower for the island
oh right,
dialect
okay,
doesn't
yeah,
fit,
because I
okay?
do, yeah, I'm talking. So, yeah, the Jamaican and then on top of it, the how fast I'm speaking. So yeah, yeah, it's that has been a real challenge, and even us working with the heart trust people in terms of helping them with the facility standards and that kind of stuff. When we looked at on it, there are many people that were actually asked to help write some of this stuff never smoked yet, in a sense. And they're making decisions for stuff. So I was so happy to be able to get Sata in for him to really look through the thing and really fix. And there were a lot of challenges still with how it was written. So trying to see if we can make some, repairs to, and something that make more common sense. But my biggest problem has been in terms of both organic farming and also the industry is that the permaculture piece is not really being taken care of, and just to how we're managing the land. And that, one of the things that's been really coming to me is that with whichever herb, whether it's Spanish needle, any kind of plant-based things, is just we, the way how we as humans are looking at things. And I always say, whenever humans run after the natural world for profits, all that follows is destruction and all kind of something. And so we have to kind of think of ourselves as part of that nature. We're not separate. We're not, just walking around like, the jolly green giant walking on the land and just trampling everything. The way that we have to look at things is a little different. And we are part of it. And we need to get ourselves back into a natural order of things in terms of working on working with the plants. The plants are feeling it. And that's, you all know that in terms of dealing with herb, that it's going to respond to you. And just like everything else. And so when we're making certain decisions and doing certain things, we need to take that to incorporate that. That is not just about even if we're farming from the skies to the core of the earth. And so all those things have to be in place. And that's why the permaculture or regenerative farming, however you want to call it, because people have different names for it, is that we need to really get back in touch with things and not just we set up something and we're not looking at the wind, we're not looking at any of the energy systems that are flowing through the
That
place.
goes on to the question I was trying to answer when you came in at the right time. What is permaculture? Because, I mean, this is something I'll say. I don't separate ganja from any different plant. If you're farming, it should not be monocropping, first of all. It should be polycropping, and you should be conscious of the crops that are around you, whether naturally selected or you are bringing them in, especially when you are bringing them in. So, I don't see it any different whether you're planting yams, peppers, tomatoes, whatever it is, permaculture. But let's start with a little definition, or what would you say the definition of permaculture is and so forth.
Permaculture is really a design system, and it came out of Australia with Mollison and a group of folks there, because other people that were involved. And so they wanted to look at permanent agriculture, because they realized as they studied different landscapes that the way how people were doing agriculture, it was just leaving like deserts behind. Just after a couple of years, it's just a wasteland, and then you have to figure out how to rebuild the soil. And so they actually studied indigenous systems and looked and seen best practices, and then put together those indigenous systems that they saw that worked, and even bring in some new technology. And then also incorporated just a way of liberty. So if you live in a certain way and it's a permanent agriculture, you don't have to keep moving and doing destruction and then moving to someplace else. And in Jamaica, we see this all the time, right? Somebody would clear a piece of land, they would clear the land and they would burn the land. They're doing that, all the microorganisms in the soil is gone, earthworms are gone, there's nothing there. And then you get a bumper crop from the carbon that was from that one time. And then after that, everything is going to go, yields are going to go down because you've kind of run everything off the place. And so, but if you have a more regenerative system in place, then the plants are working with each other, the nutrients, the families of plants, the guild of plants, everybody's kind of working working together. And then you don't really have to move again because you've designed a system for yourself that is more holistic and you're now part of the system and not outside the system trying to pull things from the system. So that is one of the things with perma, and it allows you to bring in how your whole lifestyle, how you're living, the zones, the sectors, looking at everything, living from the sky to the soil to what's been lead, all those things, and then bringing it in. And it's really an old way of looking at things that we kind of turn back and saying it's new and trying to reintroduce people into that. So I feel, when I teach and I work with diverse people, I don't want nobody to touch the soil until they really don't move anything until you really get a better understanding, because it's like it's like you have a vehicle and the person has never known nothing about mechanics, never went to a school, never read a book, and then you say go fix my car or go fix my food. It's like madness. It's totally crazy. You would never do that. You want somebody who to do brain surgery on you that never attended a class, but yet still everybody thinks that they can pick up a seed and start to plant things, and they have no idea what they're doing. And so they end up losing on the soil, and the earth loses too, because you just create a whole bunch of drama and destruction on it. And so it's really important for us to take some time, and everybody in a rush, take some time, slow down, slow your roll, get a better understanding of this amazing. You talk about people are looking at computers as amazing and look at the intricacy of that. Just take one little teaspoon of soil and one little patch of earth and look at the dynamics of all the systems that have to go into place to let that thing, grow, or the things in that space operate. It's so many different things going on in there. And we're not taking the time to really study the things that is the most important thing beneath our feet. Exactly, right? And the interest, look at that. The fruit, just looking at how amazing whoever designed that particular, I always feel like there's a designers, that design the fruit and design the thing, and the interactions that need to happen for those things to be produced. Now, we have studied some things, but we don't have everything. And it's important for us to slow our roll and really try to realize that we are part of a system. We're not separate from it. And then learn as much as you can, and then do the work with the natural environment around you. One of the things that came to me the other day, they gave me an example of, as a matter of fact, I was talking to a tree. We had a little tree ceremony, and we have this tree that's about 400 or 500 years. And I sat down and said, all right, we're gonna see if this thing works. And we're gonna have a conversation with the tree. So I sat there and I got into a zone and a space with the tree. And the tree said to me, gave me the example of, they said, if we took you and put you in the middle of China, and there was no one that spoke English, would you be able to, understand and communicate with them? You could understand some things because your, body language and things like that. But would you know the language? And I wouldn't know the language. I don't know Mandarin or any of the other languages that is dialects that they speak. And it's the same thing with the natural world. It's all around you, but you haven't learned the language of it, so you can't communicate. And what we're supposed to be doing is learning the language of the plants around us, because they do speak. But we're not taking the time to slow down, right? To learn from the environment. Instead of trees speak to each other, you can be in one part of the island and you're on the other island, and you want to get a message, you can get the message. But that means you'd have to be able to be slow enough down to be able to understand and take the time to really do the communication. And it has done the same thing with all the plants. So until we understand that we're not separate and walking around like we run things, they are the ones we can go, but the plants are really there. And until we slow down and start to communicate with them, you can tell a plant as a spiritualist or herbalist, you can be doing something and you want to get a healing on something, and you just talk to the plant and say, do this work, and the plant will do it if you have that connection with the plant. And so we need to slow our roll and get back in touch with things and don't think that we're separate from it. And it's not just about running down and, people, a lot of people here are running down for just money. That thing will flip on you and you end up getting yourself into trouble because of that, right? So we have to just start, and I think COVID is a prime example of that, where people are not well. And it is not just about weed, it's about all the medicinals. Jamaica doesn't have a high count of it because we are still more grounded in nature, because even if we don't realize it, I mean, we just do things in a natural way, and we may eat some kale or might eat some other greens or have coconut water or be out in the sun. We just do the thing because we don't have no choice, or we don't know no better. We just do it. And those are things that are building our immune system. And what I found, I've lived in the US, and there's a lot of poor, it's like there's no food there, really. One of the reasons I was in Philly and I left Philadelphia, is because my herbalist tell me, if you stay here, you're going to die because there's no nutritional value in the food.
Wow.
And so you have better chance being in where you come from Jamaica, to go back and heal yourself with the plants that are there, because it can actually pull up the nutrients and you actually are going to be able to impact you. And I think that until we understand the whole cycle of things, that's why permaculture is important. We're going to be having, it's going to be easy. It's like having a plant that is not well, is susceptible to everything. And we are plants. We are part of that. We don't separate. We shouldn't be separating ourselves and say, ourselves like we are better than. We are part of this entire system, and every single mineral that is on the planet, anything you find is also exists in us, right? It's in us. So we are the tree is us. We are the weed is us, right? And if we understand how to navigate the space, we can become the tree. You understand? Yeah. So if you understand those things, right now we have a lot of weak plants, weak beings walking around, and that's why we become susceptible to anything that anybody wants to spray us with, right? Because we're not strong. And the only way to do that is to really make sure you're eating and you're consuming things. I see people right now that are growing weed and they're spraying it with all kind of chemicals. Like, what's up with that? You want to ingest that? You don't want to ingest that. So organic, regenerative, natural, whatever we want to call it, we need to get back to the basics of things, and we need to reconnect ourselves to the planet that we're in. We're not separate. We're part of this whole ecosystem. And until we do that, we're going to have problems. And just even the way how we're doing it is like, it's just everybody grab. We don't need all of that. We need to look at ourselves, and you find, like, even I'm looking at stuff that's happening now with COVID. A lot of people are separated, they're disconnected. They're disconnected. And they're disconnected from the natural world. They're disconnected from themselves. And so that's the illness now will come on people the more of a way. And a mental illness, the physical illness. They can't know how to get out of this depression. They start taking all these synthetic things and that kind of stuff. And they're not coming back in the natural order of things. And we need to reconnect. And until we do that, we're gonna be at, anybody can come and spray us with anything and we're gonna fall. You know what I mean? But we are, and if we follow the things in terms of planting in a natural way and understand the systems that we're under. We have our bodies, and most people don't understand their body. So if you don't understand your body, how are you going to know to feed it? How you know what to feed it? Is that the right thing for you, the wrong thing for you? Because we have disconnected ourselves. We spend more time studying other things that is not important, but we have this amazing machine that we have, and we don't know anything about it, right? So we need to do that, because it's kind of silly. You think about it. People spend years in a college and you ask them about their nutrition or what they're supposed to be eating, and on top of it, they're eating pure crap. Nothing on there is live. They can go through a whole day and not eat anything that is live, right? And then they wonder how they're going to function. Of course, their mind can't function, because it's like having a car and you put kerosene in it. The car can't run off of that or whatever,
So
or something else that doesn't belong.
When you say you go the whole day, when you say you go the whole day and you don't eat anything live, what do you mean? Like you need like a live fish or like sushi, or what do you mean something live?
Live meaning fruit, meaning like you just cut that vegetable and you're eating that life force. So even with us now, the things that we're moving into, we're moving organic, yes, but we're going to be looking at eating for our own for each individual constitution, because each person coming here on it with a mission, right? You have a mission, I have a mission. In order to do that mission, you have to be able to feed yourself the thing that is going to allow you to do that mission. You understand? Because each person coming with a different constitution. You understand what I'm saying?
I like where you're going, and if you don't mind, give me 1 minute and then I'll let you pick it up. You see, I liken the plant to us many times, and because this is a ganja growing community, they really understand the fact of phenotypes and genotypes and these phrases. So, you know, like I have my lady and me and her, you know, we bed, and I have maybe 2, 3 children with her. Even though that mating or whatever, it's the same breeding, the children are all going to be different. Same way you take a male tree, you put it to a female tree, you end up with 200 seeds. All of them gonna express themselves differently. And the female tree can accept pollen from many different donors. So now the vast, you know, expression. So each one of them needs something individually, differently. So is this a commercial plant? You're probably gonna treat it differently. If it's a homegrown plant, you're gonna treat it a little bit differently. You know, so if you need to make a certain amount of weight by a certain amount of time, you need certain strains that can take that stress, and then you feed it accordingly. So just before you put it into your high stress training, you know, you might want to give it a nice soil drench just before. Stretch it out, and you know it already has that charge in there already to help it kind of recover. It's already there. It's not after you stress it, then you're trying to put in something. Oh, let me just hit it with some recharge. Or, you know, you try, you know, you kind of really plan out what you're doing and you're involved. So I like when you hit on the point that permaculture is really a design system. It's really a conscious, I was trying to say it's a conscious effort to do something, but I really like the words that you use where that's concerned. And now how you're bringing it right back home to where I like to not differentiate us from the plant. It's same, so individually, all of us cannot be eating the same thing every day and expecting, you know, am I a commercial person? Am I a stay-at-home person? Am I an athlete? Am I this? I need to be feeding my body certain minerals or certain to help me to perform to my utmost purpose.
Exactly.
You know, and understanding overstanding that whole system and then feed it. So, you know, I sum it up by saying eat to live, don't eat to die. So a lot of things we eat, it's really gonna kill us slowly. So it's not even about what it tastes like or if it's good. But when you get the mentality that you're eating to live, yo, no matter what it tastes like, once you know it's good for you and that's what you really need. And once you do it after a while, your body just, yeah, it's like, yeah, no problem. You know, as we would understand, once you get the microbiology active that can break down these enzymes, it will do it. But that transitionary period of where the dominant microbes that are used to breaking down this is not getting that food source anymore, and you're trying to build up the other good probiotics now, and then it's going to take a little while to build up. But once it builds up and takes over now, it's right there. So
right, then you can thrive, and you're thriving.
You know, so
but that's we're not. Yeah, man. No, that's exactly it. So we have to do this with everything, because you say make your food be your medicine be your food. It's to say it's all about that, and really about connecting and really figuring out. I mean, you do that with herb anyway, figuring out what's the right, appropriate strain for this and for that, because you can do all of it. And all of it, you can ask the plant to do whatever you want to do. That is how amazing that plant is. All the plants are. But you have to understand yourself first to even know that, right? And if you don't understand and you're just doing any kind of madness and everything is just out of whack. And that's what this is what you're seeing a lot now. And it's time for us to wake up and to, we're growing as a species, we're supposed to be, we're evolving. And in this evolutionary process, we're at a point now that we have to start making some better decisions for ourselves and also understanding about the planet, because it's amazing design. I mean, the planet was designed and we are part of that. And for us to evolve, we have to get reconnected to what it is, because we're not growing as a species. We're actually in a downward cycle, right? And so we need to understand that, one of the things I like about the connection of herb is that it brings people back into a natural setting, even if they didn't really originally want to, because the conversations that happen, just logically bring you to have that kind of groundation. So if you know, so other people who are not believing, oh man, no man. If you're moving in that direction, you have to have that conversation about this plant that normally maybe you wouldn't have that conversation. But I'm saying take that thing and go a little deeper and go deeper and go deeper and go to the cellular level and then expand it out and then look at what else is around you, right? And then make that deeper connection. So that's what I want to see more people doing, not just doing the surface thing, but actually go deep into all that work that is doing and making the connections. And then you come out the other side and going, wow, and looking at all the things around you, and your interactions with the natural world. So that's what I mean. We just try to have that kind of conversation, and hopefully people come and they come through our doors, and we try to make those connections and get people to look at the world differently. And sometimes it takes a little time. When they go, they're gonna feel uncomfortable. They're gonna feel the discomfort because they know better. So when they start doing certain things, they know in their soul, in their spirit that it can't work. And so, I'm right now trying to get even this permaculture course across for everybody on the island to be able to take it, as many people that are coming through heart and stuff. And, the other day, some of the people came through and wanted me to. And I'm like, no, you can't just teach organic farming. You can't do it. You have to teach the permaculture piece because you have to understand the space of which you're working in. You have to understand the space. You can't just come in and say, all right, I'm just going to do this one thing. You can't do the one thing because the one thing is connected to everything. It really is a full connection to do anything, right? So everybody wants to kind of be specializing, and you can specialize, yes, after you understand the whole thing. You look at the big picture. Then you can go in and say, all right, I'm going to do this. But let's look at the whole picture and understand the interaction, because every time you move one thing, the ripple effects across not just within your own self, but in your family, and the vibration across the island and across the world and into the cosmos. Everything we do is felt, right? And so the vibrations that we're putting out, and you know that with the plants and the vibration, you understand all of that. You talk about that all the time. So we are very powerful beings that are here, right? And so we need to use the power to understand, like when we step in a place, if we step wrong, how much impact it has. If you're doing this work and you're not connected in a heart space way, how much that affects everything else, right? We just kind of feel like we just do our thing, and we just do our thing, and not really, but every action, it affects things. And working with the plants, just like, if I'm cooking food, I can't cook food when I'm angry, or anybody should be cooking for you when you're angry, right? You need to make sure, because that vibration is going into the plant, into the food, into everything. And so we need to get people to understand that it's not about a fast food life, and it really, and that's why everybody's sick. Everybody's sick because of that. We just slow our roll and make sure when we're dealing with our bodies, these amazing machines, that we're taking our time and knowing what we're putting into it, and how was it done. When I'm eating, I want to know who my farmer is. I'm always like, I want to know who's, and certain people I'm not eating from, and certain people you shouldn't be taking wheat from, because the spirit not right. They might be able to grow the thing, but they're growing the thing under what conditions? Under greed, they're growing the thing under envy, they're growing the thing under lack of love, they're growing the thing, you know what I mean? You want to make sure that you're getting something from the highest vibration. And even in terms of, I want to see, when we're doing some of this work too, some of the things that we're going to be doing at a research station. We got donated 370 acres of land to do some research. We're going to be putting in all kinds of things to boost that vibration of the plant, whether it's crystals and just having the people the right positive energy, working in that space, that get obviously music and the vibrations and all that stuff. And what I want to say, I'm saying I'm making super conscious food for super conscious people, right? So that when you eat or ingest or smoke or deal with any of the products that we are growing, and it's supposed to fill you up. You don't even need a whole lot, because it is that potent that is working on a cellular level, right? And you'll be able to vibrate that thing up because it's that potent. So that's the kind of stuff that we're supposed to be doing, and not just, I mean, with everything that we're putting into our body, we want it to be at the optimum vibrational space that, and also specific to what it is that you want to do, right? But right now, all of us are heavy because we're eating these heavy things to have, eating the 3 meals a day. We don't need all of that. It's making us heavy. You're looking at everybody, their weight, it's all weighted down. And if you're weighted down, you can't think right. After you eat a meal, you just want to sleep, right? We can't think straight. And so you see people doing all kind of madness. It's because of the food and the things that we're ingesting. So we have to really think about this and also then make some shifts to make sure it's more appropriate, and also start asking, all our people that are doing our agriculture, doing our farming, that we're actually doing both, that we're not just isolating this thing by itself. You know what I mean? Them kind of way. The plants, just like people, when you isolate a person, what are you getting? You're getting a very shallow kind of thing because that person's only been doing this one thing and that's it. People like to be around people with the right vibe, right? When you're vibing and you're in a group of people and you guys are exchanging things, it's the same thing in the plant world. You don't isolate. You want to make sure it's done in a holistic way where everything is helping everything else and it's all vibing together, and this is running with this and this is running with that. So you want that energy. So I feel like the movement, I feel like this movement can shift the world, right? I think the herb movement, those are people that are coming to the planet because they're not tied to, a certain mindset, that they can think outside the box because it allows you to do that. And with that, now we need to start to, worry about our stuff and try to create a different kind of movement around cleaning up and connecting again to the planet, and then, navigating that space. I feel like it is something that can happen, and I feel like I see a lot of these, young people coming into the space with this understanding of that and wanting to interact like that. We need to do more of that and give people the support that they can continue to do the kind of work and provide, medicines and food for people so that they can get out of this, unconscious state that we've been forced into and been controlled into, and start making some better choices for ourselves. Anyway, I've been talking. I want to, let's.
No, absolutely. I just want to say you're a beautiful, very beautiful person, and I love the message that you're saying and trying to spread, and I think it's awesome. So, yeah, absolutely. Everything you were talking about is very cool. You did cover a lot, though. No, so these are things that, so when people come to the farm there, these are all kind of things that you're teaching over the course of weeks, and they spend time there, they experience it, they experience the food, and they get to feel the whole kind of encircling. And that was the beautiful part I thought about while you were talking, is just how you were relating, how the healthy the soil is relates to how healthy we are, and how happy we are relates to how healthy the soil is. And it's this constant kind of giving back, and everything reverberates off each other, so yep. that was kind of a cool part about that, because I think that's one thing we've talked about on different shows or whatever, is being in a good mood and being happy. Because, man, I've absolutely witnessed that when somebody's just, it wasn't even anything to do with the garden or the plants. It was just, problems with this girl at home and whatever. And it was like, I could see it through the plants, just the response from them being there. And it was a weird thing. So I've definitely witnessed that myself. And I agree. It's all cool.
Yeah, man. It's about being happy. It really is. You said happy, and happy is important because that is that vibration of being, the cosmic energy of love, and that will bring that radiance, because you're happy, you're radiating. And so it just affects everything around. And so, that's one of the things. So when people do come here to Source, I mean, everybody have their little issues and stuff, but for the most part, Source is a very good vibrational space. And we literally, sometimes with the classes, we have classes and we're like, okay, you guys are going to go on a weekend. And the people said they're not going anywhere. And most of the time they're not going anywhere. They're like, they want to be in this space. And I'm saying this space is, you can create this space. Everybody that leaves here should be creating that happy space. And as we make these bubbles of happiness, then they start hitting up against each other. And then you have a larger happy space, right? And so this is what we're supposed to be doing. And it's not hard. We don't have to all of this, any racial foolishness, all of that, whatever. None of that is about being the best being that you can be, and being happy with yourself and your environment, and understanding it, and understanding the ups and downs, and having the support around you, and really trying to live a happy life. And with that comes the food and everything else, really. So when you said happy, if you look through the Egyptians, that word comes into play, because there is an element of happy. And happy is what this planet is supposed to be about, not a place of all this drama that is going on now. And we have the opportunity to change that just by what we're consuming and how we're consuming it. Like, is that simple, but it's also a deep thing, because in that means individuals have to look at their life and not work. Sometimes, man, we want to work and the government is this and the government is that. It's not about that. And Spirit will tell you, you have to work first on yourself. You can't worry about nobody else stuff. Try and change you first. When you change, then your mate and your children and everything will change. Everybody wants to be outside, looking outside of themselves. Work on that first and see the impact you're having on your spirit. And that's in permaculture, that'd be like zone 1 or 0. Yourself is 0. And then your house and everything will be the next zone. If you do that work first, everything is everything, because that is now your perception of things. And if your perception is, if you let other people give you the perception, then everything is whatever they want to give you a perception of. If them say it's raining and you don't have enough sense to look outside and say it's not raining, right? Because somebody say it's raining, then it's going to always be raining. Yeah. So what we have to be doing now is to look at how we're impacting in our own zone, our actions, and then know from looking at these actions and are not supporting us, the food's not supporting us, the kinds of maybe herbs are not supporting us, right? We start to do that work on ourselves, and don't worry about everybody else. Deal with that first, and then look at what will happen, how those things will shift and change around you. And then more and more, and you gather up with other like-minded people that are feeling that, and you get the happy vibe like you talk about, and then more and more people will want to come into that consciousness, right? And that's it. Yeah, because people know, it's not like they don't know what they're doing. There's very few people you meet up, and if you have a conversation with them, they know some of the things I'm doing, I saw you have fucked up or something on your thing. It's pure fuckery, But yeah, they'll know it's not right, and their soul is not right. But you have to then, start to create those opportunities. And that's one of the reasons that I think intentional communities are moving back into it, because people are, the system that was designed that said, all right, I'm gonna have to have 2 point whatever children and live in this picket fence house, and and we are now feeling the repercussions of that, because the knowledge transfer is not happening from the elders, right? And talk about plant knowledge, everything, all of those experiences are not even being transferred. Then on top of it, there's no support for the family. So everybody's stressed out trying to do everything, and it's not possible. And now we know to need to come back into community. That makes sense. So it's just what time it is. And then, another thing that we're trying to do is to say every household needs to be, we need an herbalist in every household and a master herbalist in every community, right? So that can help us navigate that space. And that's what used to, in traditional systems, that's what happened. Everybody knew about the bushes and the teas and making these things. And we need to get back to that space, and sometimes, put down that game box thing a little bit and go to the real game box thing, is to go out and look at that soil and look at those connections that are being made in that way. And if we can do more of that, it's all about balance, and we'll be in a much better place.
All right. I mean, I'm loving where you're going, and I think the community, the chat is really, in tune with where you're at. You know, as I say, a lot of time the speeches get regurgitated, and I like when we can connect them back to ourselves as individuals, because we are no different from the plant. So if we're seeking the best, our people are seeking to go the best plant and to go the highest grade. Why not try to be the best person you can be? And what I find with the plant is that after a while, it really changes you a lot. You know, if you give it that time and really give it in, you find some things that used to stress you out. Not because you're high, but you kind of deal with reality a little easier, and within yourself, you change, you know, consciously or not. Well, you hit the right topic in terms of soil and soil building. I don't know if you could just give us some quick tips. You know, we like I know they have a crew they call the Frugal Force in Michigan, you know, and I just like the name because it's my kind of style. I told them that we have a thing we call it shopping at the Home Depot. So we look around the yard first and we don't try to outsource anything. We really see how we can, you know, reuse things. So I know, you know, good compost and worm cast and things like that, but something you said way earlier in the speech when we have a practice of slash and burning. So, you know, you clear a part in the forest and you kind of burn it out. And you say you get a bumper crop in that first hit, but then after that, it kind of weans off. And we know that because of the additional carbon source, as you highlighted. So, what, you know, suggestion, I guess, within your permaculture starts implementing then to put in those carbon sources. And I'm thinking maybe some biochar, something like that. But is there anything specially? I know you have like special inoculations you put on these biochars before you put them in. I don't know if you want to squeeze us any tips or anything where that's concerned, you know?
Well, I mean, we've been starting to do some more work around. We had some mushroom work done earlier, and we're actually having Owen, our mushroom guy, coming back to do some work with us. So we're very happy about that. Looking at adding some other, like working with mushrooms within the soil and trying to build that. That's some of the things that we've been looking at. And even just for us, like the big work that I'm really doing is in the next, well, we have a project, a regenerative project. And for the islands, we have to really rebuild the soil because we had a lot of rain in the last couple of, well, November. We had a very long and heavy rainy season that we went through. And when you look out to the sea, all you saw was our soil. You just look out and it was just brown. All around the coast, it was just brown. And it's all the soil. And I was, you know, freaking out like, oh my God, you know, because there's no machine to put it back on and look how long it took to grow, you know, to build that soil. And so we're just trying to get people to plant more trees and have a different approach to planting so that we start to build that soil. So planting a lot more trees that have, you know, that will cover and be able to build more soil. And, but then also doing a cash crop around it. So we actually, yesterday, we're just coming from Orange River Research Station and picking up a bunch of different plants. You know, we have a group of farmers, 10 farms that we're working with specifically in St. Thomas, and a regenerative program. So we really are just trying to, you know, we went and we got trees because we're about to do this planting, regenerative planting that would give them the opportunity to plant some cash crop. And then also in that plant, you know, plant some more fruit trees. And then even when we're planting, we're doing like hugelkultur. And so that's like carbon banking in the soil, right? And even to be honest, you know, my brother did.
You wanna go a little further into that for me?
Okay, for the hugelkultur. So it's a German word. It's they call it hill farming, but it's also something that's done most indigenous. So what they would do is like they would make actually kind of almost like an excavate, like make a trench. And all the things that were around them, they would just literally throw in it. Like if there's any logs or things that are breaking down, kitchen scraps, you know, leaves, anything at all, they would just put that in there in the trench, and then they would cover the soil that they removed back over it. And then they could plant into it right away. You can actually plant right back into that soil. You put some, even if you have some charcoal, any kind of biochar, you can put in there as well. And then they call it carbon banking. So for us who had droughts and stuff, when we planted, and I did it, you know, I've done it, and I still do it. I planted things within that. That was the only thing that would actually, when we had droughts, that would actually survive, because in that when it rained, it was able to have pockets of moisture in there. And then everything that was in there was breaking down. So you had banked, carbon bank, you had banked minerals and stuff breaking down. So it would actually then feed the plants. So we've been doing and trying to teach people about that. But for us right now, it's about a regenerative approach, planting and really about planting a lot more fruit trees in, because one of the things we were doing with fruit trees too is that most people not gonna cut down a fruit tree in Jamaica. We have a thing against it. If you're a wicked person if you cut down a fruit tree, right? So we've been trying to encourage our farmers to start to plant that, because also, the monocrop, or even if you're doing organic farming, you can still end up doing that kind of monocrop stuff going on, even though it's supposed to use organically, those row crops. So we said no more of that. Let us really start to look at the hillside, because we have a lot of hillside farmers. And so then we're losing the soil off of there because of the planting practices. So we're trying to replant the trees and then give cash crop and also do the horticulture. So we're throwing as much stuff as we can at it, and then working with other things like bringing in the different kinds of mushrooms to help build soil and help the microorganisms in the soil. So we're just trying to do as much as we can with the resources and stuff that the farmers have access to be able to then build back the biology in the soil to do that. So that's what we've been doing.
Because you hit a very key note, which I don't know, most of our chat and everybody is super good in terms of understanding basic, Hugo culture. And I think a good point that you hit on is that it's not really suited for most places. It has to be done with a bit in mind, but definitely for drought-prone areas with a bit of pre-thinking, it can be very successful. But you really have to think about it. But moving forward into the latter point is just the analogies of building the trees or keeping the trees aligned, especially on a large scale of farming. Most people thinking of clear the land, but trees themselves can actually be a very positive role in what they play within your farm and farming structure. Because I've even found, even ganja, you talk about planting cash crop. I've talked about when you're planting fields, you have certain strains that they just seem to do better in the shade. I can't really explain it, but the ones that were always within that shade line of the tree or the forest line or whatever you call it, resin out the box. Like you couldn't walk past the plants without getting, gummy. And it's the same strain planted, but the ones that were just outside of that tree line shadow, I mean, they were nice, good, but they just wouldn't produce that amount. So you can definitely see where some of those things, comes into play.
Yeah, but also it may have also had a companion. The fact that something else is there. You know what I mean? Come on. I mean, it's not just about the shadow. It's the fact that you have somebody to talk to.
I'm not even trying to argue what it is. I just can know that there was definitely a significance within that geographic location.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And there's lots of studies now that talk about the plants talk to each other. There's enough of that. Everybody's supposed to.
And I think the further point that you really hit on was that really now the scientific approach of, I see a lot of work being done on mushroom and mycology on a whole. And we're talking about just one consumption. People are onto raving. And we're not even talking about psychedelics and, going to your own psychology and checking, your balance. But even to the point of using it in like the dump fills. I've seen them trying to use, breed a certain strain of, that break down
the plastic
garbage,
stuff,
a bit faster than the typical bacteria and so forth. And then they have one that in construction that helps with wood. So like how they would normally use, like we call it bagasse board here. I think you call it chipboard or something like that. But those kind of cheap kind of boards that you get like plywood, that's kind of really cheap. But they have certain mushrooms that they have noticed that once they put it under the wetting agent, it really binds. It gives it a binding force, almost like a glue. So it gives it a concrete like, rigidity. And so you have, certain little planes. So now that you're saying that you're on to the part that these mushrooms or these different type of, will help you to break down your compost quicker, or whatever it might be, or clean up the root zones a bit quicker, whatever these specific ones, and breeding them for these specific. I think you're really on point if really regenerative or permaculture in terms of helping to heal back Mother Earth.
Yeah.
Is a real thing. Give it back a good fungus and bacteria that can do what it needs to do, and yeah, put it out of your hands. And I think nothing in a bottle will solve it. You know, so if you really take that approach and kind of help ease these ones back into nature and repopulate it, I think you're hitting some excellent charts, excellent points, you know. So if you want to expand into maybe term, those big words throw me off, but if you have any one of them you can throw out there.
No, I'm not a big word person either. I just keep it simple. Just keep it simple. But it's just, I mean, it's about sitting and studying, taking your time and slow down, because we're in a rush to go where, you know, we're in a rush to go where. Yeah, you can go off. People want to go off planet. Yeah, you can go off this planet. Yeah. But there's so much here. There's so much energy that wants to be on this planet, because there's so much. If you understand what's going on in the system that we're in, a lot of energies want to be here because it's an amazing place to be, because there's a lot going on here. And we shouldn't be rushing around like, let's have us on this hamster. Take your time and sit in your garden. Take your time and study the plant, you know, and see all of it. Just take it. You can spend your entire life just studying one plant. And I think that everybody should just do that. Take your life, pick one plant that you're attracted to, and study it and see everything that you need to learn is in that system, is in that plant, right? You slow yourself down, and everybody, what are you rushing around to do, right? You think about it. Take your time, learn your environment that you're in, and get reconnected. That's the big thing right now, because right now I'm looking at Jamaica and our food insecurity, right? And yeah, because we've been importing so much of our food, it's so crazy. And everybody's rushing around to do what? It's a crazy thing. We're a species that
listen, I don't want you to burst anybody's bubble. They have a real good image of Jamaica as a place that we just go outside and pick our food off our trees and eat it. You know, they kind of have this assumption that everybody lives like me, but really I am in a very small bubble that I choose, and I really have to work hard at choosing to live this way, and it doesn't work all the while, you know. But as you said, the importation, the Burger Kings, the Pizza Huts, all the fast food is here. It is here 100%. You know, we don't get left behind out of anything. But sorry to burst the bubble, guys. Yeah.
No, and there is a lot of people, but we still need to do more. I think that, you know, like my grandparents, you know, every time a child was born, they would plant a couple of trees, because they did it to make sure they could pay for it to go to school, right? That's how we used to do it. And somehow,
and honestly, not to stray from the point, but even that on a large farm, if you know on a permaculture, say you're gonna be on this acreage for a long time. Tree farming is actually a pretty viable industry. You have some trees you can harvest in 10 years, within 15 years. You know, so if you have a child, you know, you have 5 trees, that's like college tuition right there. You understand what I mean? And these trees have high value. So you can plant accordingly. It also will help. And within that time, you also have something in play that, yeah, you know, you're going to cut it down, but it was for that. And you have a replacement, or you have a system lined up to get that beneficial, you know, role and so forth. So you can really tap into, you know.
Yeah, man, no, it's exactly that. And that's one of the reasons that we're doing that regenerative farming and planting the trees along with the cash crop, is because our farmers are getting older. And, you know, that bending over back business, because we don't have the nice, sometimes I would say nice, these flat lands on acreages. So we have a lot of hillsides to work on. And if you're trying to do this cash crop sometime on these hillsides, man, yeah. So it's important to be able to plant, do a combination planting, so that you always have those available. And what I'm finding now is that most of the things are fruit trees and that kind of fruit bearing trees. And that's what people are looking for. There's just not enough that, you know, because, you know, over the years, people hadn't been planting. And you know, the other thing too, is that for Jamaica, a lot of times we have a challenge with this because of the whole enslavement thing. Anything to do with farming is, you're stupid, or, you know, smart, or, you know, that kind of way. So people are telling their kids, I don't want you to be a farmer. I want you to go out and be a doctor. I want you to go out and be whatever. And what I am finding too is a lot of those children that were sent and said, no, man, they now are turning around and they want to be on the farm. you know, and I'm saying that farming, we want really smart people, right? Sorry.
Well, I'm one of those, I can tell you. I mean, my mother is from Westmoreland. My father is from St. Elizabeth. And, you know, my mother, the Indian side of the family, known as the cool, you know, they came in indentured servants as
Right.
whatever, but a lot of rice planting and sugar plantations and so forth. So that's a history. So I remember even when one of my first ass whoopings, we can curse on this anyway. When already, but you know, yeah, one of my first whoopings I got was when we were in Kingston, and you know, my dad rented, you know, we had rented a house, and they had a little lawn, you know, like, and you know, everybody's kind of proud about the lawn. You know how suburban areas are, everybody's
Yeah.
kind of proud. So I think I was about maybe 8 or 9, so I cut like maybe a 4x4 square out of the lawn, and I planted some red peas in it, and you know, I was like, Poppy, look at this, man. You see my little piece, and boy, I got a whipping that was sore for this. Look what you did to my lawn. And, you know, looking back, you know, I always say that, you know, if they had really looked at that, maybe send me to agriculture school or
I
something
said
like that,
too.
I would have probably, you know, created something, a disease resistant papa, I don't know, whatever. But I'm just saying, I can't really fight them either because they know that because of how the system is set, the farmer really gets the poor end of the stick all the time. So they would never want their child to be a farmer, if you understand what I mean. You know, and this is one thing I can say that the ganja industry on a whole is really bridging that gap of
Mm-hmm.
getting the middleman out and closing. You see, because we are so communal focused and community centered and the farmers markets and all these, you know, mom and pop shop that we try to, so the whole, I call it the ganja culture. So it's beyond race, it's beyond, you know, whatever. You find it very, these things are very consistent when you travel. The communal spirit. Some people you don't know, and you can show up on the doorstep and they treat you, oh yeah, man, and you get food and you get a little smoke, and you know they're always willing to share. Ganja is something, it comes with a sharing
Yeah.
vibes about it, the vibration. Even when you get a good job herb, you can't think about smoking it by yourself. You want to see how Smiley need to taste this. He need this. You know, and if I can give him a cut, he needs this like now. You know, so it has that vibration that goes right across, you know, all elements. So we really kind of full dance it and really encourage it. And we look forward that the whole agricultural movement, which if that is what feeding, you know, that it will wave the banner for organic food and more, you know, we don't want things that have to be, you know, sourced from way across the globe. What is your communal offering that is going to give you the most potent mineral content on a cellular level that can get you energized and keep you going? And once you can get those focus going, yeah, man, you know, it's a beautiful thing. And you see the gap closing for the farmer can really now be proud of his product and really be, not be the, you know, the poor guy that is suffering and cannot send his child to his medical bills piling up. And this is the man that is feeding the nation, and who is making the most money is the people that is doing the packaging. Because when you check it, I saw something ridiculous the other day. I couldn't even believe it. I'm here to say these things without looking for the research. But it's like a truck transporting ramen noodles crashed. And the tax write-off they were showing the bills. And it was something like $20.
Yeah, it's
For a whole truckload of ramen noodles. You understand? And this is what they're feeding. It's like cardboard. So I'm just saying the cost of it. And, you know, and a lot of these things that people are producing, what are they getting paid for it? And by the time it gets to the consumer, it's not even healthy. You can even see the herb that is planted by a farmer. And by the time it gets to the dispensary, the farmer is disgraced. Like, no, that is not my product. I never give you that. You know, so, you know, it goes right across the board where we can, you know, start guarantee when you give the ganja man thumbs up. When you can say, yeah, you get your package and you get to smell it. And now if you can get that with your food and your relationships and your investments and you know, who your children are hanging out with, if that can just be right across, yo, it's just going to be a beautiful thing. And I don't know.
And that's what we're heading for. And that's the age that we're moving into. It's moving into a collective cooperative age. It's, you know, the cycles, I mean, And that's one of the things that they've been really like downloading on me, is that everything is a part of a cycle. We're not disconnected and separate. It's all part of a natural cycle that happens. And this next cycle is Age of Aquarius. Age of Aquarius is about working collectively and working. So it's 2,160 years of this age. And it's about us coming back into a natural order of things. So people are feeling it. They may not know what the heck's going on, but they definitely things are shifting up, and they don't know what's going on, but that's what's going on. And so it's going to be a natural thing to want to move into a collective kind of consciousness in terms of working together with people, and what is your role in that piece, and knowing that you can't do it all. In Jamaica, we say one hand can't clap. And it really is about that, that space. And so, each person has a place in that. You don't get to come on the planet without a plan, right? It's a design plan. So you come, and how you come into the planet is just unfortunately, there are other people that kind of trying to co-opt your plan and trying to mislead you with things. But if you sit still enough and ask the questions, you are going to be able to be led into a certain kind of consciousness. And it's what it is. It's vibrating on that level. And I think that's people are pushing, and they're not sure what is going on. But if people, like I like to give people that key to open that door to know that is what time it is. And if you know what time it is, you'll feel the alignment happen even more easily and smoothly, because that's what you came in to do, is to come and do this work. And you still get everything you need as an individual person, right? Age of Pisces was all about the individual alone and just that. Now it's a different kind of age, but you can still be able to do your role, have your piece, but you're still part of that pie, right? You have your piece, but you're still doing that work, and you have people to support the work that you're doing, that you want to do. So that is what time it is. And on top of it, it needs to be that, because, the planet is like, enough of this foolishness. We need to start working back together and doing that. And I think that, as you said, the herb has done that across. It really has brought a lot of all kinds of people together. It's all about that. I see some of the tobacco is chewing. Yeah. So it's like just pulling it back together. So this is what time it is. So we're just, it's what time. And, I think Jamaica, bigging up Jamaica. Jamaica has a special role in all of that. For this little island, we are really blessed to be able to do so much. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of, just amazing people that have come out of it, that has been talking truth to power, whether it's Garvey or Bob or any of the people that are doing conscious lyrics, and right, Bob doing the work. And it's what we're supposed to do. And I really want the entire world to understand that, we're just one piece. And if we in this little space can do this, that everybody has a responsibility, and we need to stop with foolishness and, get on with it in terms of
responsibility. That word responsibility, is respond with the ability that you have. And I just said a lot of time, the herb will let you feel guilty, because you're not supposed to be doing this. You're not supposed to be working here. This is not the right, step in the relationship. It's like, and you're forcing it, So really move forward. Yeah, I have a personal question in terms of the herb, though. I don't see you consuming any. I don't know if you do edibles, or I don't know if you're willing to confess on camera, but you can just not answer.
I will confess.
We never really had this conversation. So
no, you never had this conversation.
In front of a couple hundred people.
To be honest, everybody's gonna laugh about this. I think I've only consumed twice, and people don't know this, that I'm actually a priest. I'm a Yoruba priest, and this one, when you become initiated, there's certain things you can and cannot do. I already have enough issues with altered states of consciousness. You know what I mean? And so it's one of the things that is taboo for me to do.
And I guess it's probably under definitely a ceremonial aspect. It probably plays a different role,
Right, and that's exactly it.
No,
so
I know people
you're outing me about that, but that's really what it is. And to be honest, there's also, before even coming to that point, I actually my family will tell you, I was the, like you talk about against weed, me of all person. And I'll tell you the story. My father was a smuggler back in the 70s.
I mean, we say he deals with logistics. He dealt with the
Yeah, he was
logistics.
just, yeah, exactly, logistics. Way back in the 70s, he was putting on things on planes
Our
and boats and all kind of stuff.
Uncle Trip, as we all know him in the
Yeah,
community.
exactly. And he got locked up, and it kind of, because in those days, I mean, it really ruined a lot of families' lives. And that was one of the things. I cannot blame weed for that for many years, and I was very much against it. So I ended up going to Philadelphia. Is this again? Wait 1 second. Keisha, find my card and plug it in. I'm sorry, my thing is going low. I went to Philadelphia and I went to school. I actually took a class on, drug in society or something like that at Temple University. And I did my research and I was like, what the heck? And I went back and I found out all why, sorry, this is the back, the cable for the power, sorry. I found out really how it's been demonized, how the herb has been demonized. And my husband, my boyfriend at the time, he used to smoke. Other family friends around me used to smoke and everything. And, I was kind of like, okay, all right, I understand why. And it's funny because when the whole thing in Jamaica, sorry about this, guys. I just want to plug up because I didn't have it plugged in. It's going to drop in a second if I don't do this.
Eagle has been known to kill a few batteries, and so you're gonna need the power cord when you get in.
And I was like, I was the first person. I said, enough of this. And I called, because it has ruined so many people's life. And I see how, because of how they have organized it, and so many people's lives have been ruined over a medicine, one plant, and it's ridiculous. And so for me, I'm a big advocate. And one of the things I'm a big advocate for in Jamaica right now is really foolishness because they're not addressing the issue with all the people that have been growing. And again, it's another set of control, right? And so the way how they set it up is only, very rich people can grow. So we are even trying to form right now a cooperative, and we work out everything already, the system to have a cooperative growers group of farmers that will be able to, not just farmers, I mean, people who have been doing this for years and actually know how to properly grow the crop and just doing it in a collective way. So that is our next work to do. So for me, I mean, I know my taboo and I know what I can manage, really, for me, what I can manage, but I'm the biggest advocate because of my experience of what my family went through and also what I know that the plant does. I know what that particular herb is good for, how it can, how it's supposed to be used, and the fact that it really is the healing of the nation. And I think that if more people could, like when we were doing some of the advocacy work around going to Bureau standards and trying to talk to them about certain things, and I realized that there are a number of people too that have taken the stance on that. And I think there needs to be a re-education of folks. When my husband got sick, I mean, he passed, he had a brain tumor, and he was doing if he had caught it early, would have done the Rixum, and he, used to make the oils and stuff. And that changed me because I saw they gave him, 3 to 4 months to live. And I saw the work that we did with him on ganja, and he lasted, over a year and a half. It's just that we just didn't catch it early enough and to be able to properly, use the system. And no, I can tell you, me personally can tell you stories upon stories upon stories of people who come here and get access to proper, I mean, not just any herb, but get proper medicines, proper herb, and be able to make the oils. And they have Crohn's disease, they have all kinds of stomach problems, they have all kinds of issues, and they'll be able to to get the medicines and to be able to take it, and they are improved. Nobody can sell me and tell me nothing about that. Nobody can tell me nothing about that. And I think that if more people could, like when we were doing some of the advocacy work around going to Bureau standards and trying to talk to them about certain things, and I realized that there are a number of people too that have taken the stance on that. And I think there needs to be a re-education of folks. When my husband got sick, me personally experience it for myself. And that's why I'm such an advocate for it. I may not be able to smoke and light up because I know so that then I have other issues that will come into play because I'm, the altered state of consciousness. I have that. I just have to sit still long enough and everybody start talking to me. So
But don't worry about the smoking part. I mean, I have a few friends and I think I can take care of that part. So if you have the land that growing and you're advocating towards the ganja and the medicinal offerings, I'll take care of the smoking part of it.
Okay, you take it. Well, yeah, man. I mean, it's ridiculous. And I go to CLA. I go to CLA and I'm reasoning with them about stuff. And I'm like, you guys can't, on multiple levels.
It's coming. I think it's really coming with multiple systems, even across the big state, California, that was, I think, from 96, but they've been at it for a while. But it's probably really only the caregiver system that is really has been super successful. None of those big conglomerates that came in and planned to made bank really made bank, and it's been proven, time that this is the way it's gonna grow until I guess once it get federally legal, then the Marlboros and all those Red Stripes and the Anheuser-Busch, whatever, until those sides come in. But even then, it still have so much of a craft pushed industry of a market that, as I said, the cottage industry is something that it doesn't fit that puzzle. You know what I mean?
So the next thing we're going to do is to, we've been talking to the powers that be in a sense, but we're going to be doing a ganja farmers market and incorporating with our Ujima natural market. So that's the work for this 2021 is to do that. And so people will be able to access the things. So, I'm working with I know that there's some other people working on ITIL standards, but we're also working on some standards as well with the Jim and Joyce Riddle, who worked on the NOP standards in the US. They come down at least, once a year and do work.
I just want to take a breath right here, So Smiley, all the gang, Tanasi, everybody that was planning to come down. I don't know if you miss it, but Ganja Farmers Market.
I heard that, man. That was
all right.
The sound of that.
All right, keep going. Sorry. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. We were supposed to do it from last year, but this whole COVID thing. But yeah, definitely. That's what needs to. That's the work that we're working on right now. And we had spoken to some of the people in Kingston, the powers that be, and they said, obviously we could go ahead. So now we're going to re-engage. But last 2020, all the drama that would happen and not being able to gather. But we need to do that and kind of free up the thing. And it's too important. It's really too important. And the medicines it's medicine, and we need to let people have access to it and understand how to utilize it and free it up. It's about freeing it up. Because if you're allowed to do that with one plant, what other plant they're going to pick up and do that madness with? You know what I mean? And it's been too many years that's been allowed to happen. So there's some work ahead of us, and we're just trying to, create the medicines and the food for people to really be able to reach that next level that we need to reach as a species, and just take it from there. But everybody, take, as an individual thing, try to sort yourself out, try to get to know if it's this plant you want to know the plant. Know who you're getting it from, who's the farmer that's growing it. Make sure the person have love in them heart when they grow it.
That's why you said
abuse. You don't abuse anything. Just use it as you need to use it, and come into the family of light.
I just said the source. Really know the source. It's good to get your source and get everything right. I guess that sums it up, So
yeah. So I thank you for having the program and having.
I wasn't really wrapping up. I mean,
well, I'm wrapping up because I have to I have to get actually to Kingston tomorrow and get some stuff done. But I'm really thankful for the work that you've done. I mean, that we got connected in this kind of divine way, and the work has just begun. We have a lot of work ahead of us to do, and I really love working with you. And you have a great knowledge of the industry and the plants and not just herb, but everything in terms of just the whole thing. And I mean, I tell you, we took the students to you, and it was like nobody even had anything. We were just high off of the conversation. You know what I mean? Just the knowledge and the wisdom and the reasoning. And that is what it's all about. It brings that energy together. And I mean, for days, everybody's still vibing off of that. And you bring anybody, have a conversation from any people from that class about coming to your farm and having those reasonings with you. It's, you know, that was the highlight. And I really love the work that you're doing, and continue to do it, and continue to make us very proud. So we're very proud, proud that you're doing the work and gaining the knowledge, and also always open to sharing that information, because that's the thing. People might have it, but everybody, if you do, you know, one thing about things, if you have it and you do this with it, nobody else can put anything else in your hand or give you anything, because you already done this. And while I see you operate, you're very open with the information, you're open with the sharing. And so is that give and take that happens. And with that is a flow. And with that is his love. You know, so I'm just always very, very thankful. And I just say continue to do the good work, and, you know, just do it. We need it. The planet needs it. So.
I tell you the same thing, man. You have been a real influence. I just say we make kind of just by a quick, almost like at a traffic light kind of vibes, you know. And
right.
Anytime, anywhere, you know, just because of the work you're doing. And it's similar to Smiley as well. I mean, I got a small opportunity to had a friend in Michigan that was, I guess, tackling a bigger project than, and he just wanted some, you know, help. Just say, yo, look at it and tell me if it even makes sense, you know. And, you know, I reached out, and I think it was Joshua Steele, and I think I saw him in chat earlier. And, you know, he just reached out, he did something for me. I didn't even understand Instagram that much that time. It was a kind of crack, and some people were trying to influence me. They got me some Irish genetic stuff and were trying to influence me. Yo, you need to get involved, man. And I'm like, I don't know. And yo, he reached back out to me, and you understand right now I'm super comfortable even, you know. So anytime, anywhere, this is just, as I said, it's a culture. The culture is a thing that surpasses, and you don't have to be a partaker. So some people think that you have to consume it, but it's a mental state of comfort that we all have kind of highlighted amongst ourselves, that we understand everybody is a little bit, you know, we understand that, but we celebrate our diversity. You know, it's something that, you know, there are some basic functionalities, and then if we can move towards a progressive, you know, form of pleasantness, then that's what we should be doing. You know. So as I said, really give thanks again for your work. I'm Smiley. Sorry to kind of co-host the show, but you know,
no, ahead. I was just gonna say the same thing. Very blessed to have you come on. I really appreciate the message you shared, and the work that you're doing down there sounds amazing. And I hope it inspires somebody in chat or somebody listening to add a plant to their yard. I don't know.
Yep.
Add something new.
Yeah, man, and even bigger and better if you were thinking of maybe doing a course, or if you had somebody that has property that thinking of doing something like that, your family want to get something like that. Because why you see people moving towards communal security and herb security, it's because they feel insecure. And this is a general feeling right across.
Yeah,
so you want that level of comfort, that security. And if you have to come home to the battlefield, then that's a horrible situation to be in. So you need even your home base to be secured first. So your mental space is good, everything, and then it kind of goes out to your community and then the world at large and the universe. You know, so yeah, if anybody reach out, don't be afraid. I think it's the Source Farm Eco Village.
Yeah, so it's a www.thesourcefarm.com is where we are on the website, and there's, you know, phone numbers and stuff, you know, there's handles of Instagram and there's Facebook and stuff, and you know, yeah, so we're here and we're the source.
Yeah, reach out.
So if spirit moves you to do whatever in terms of, you know, I'll let you know when we start to decide about the next year's offerings in terms of the course. I'll come back and let you know when we're going to do that. And if people are interested, because this will reach all kinds of different people, and people are just led to come here for different reasons. You know, there's so many, you know, people come and they think they're doing certain things and then they end up realizing and getting them back on their path or cleaning them up or, you know, all kinds of different things. People end up coming here, and we're just very thankful that we had the opportunity to be in that space and do that work and do that healing work as well. And so, yeah, we're here. You know, we're just doing it. So, thank you so much.
No, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll just let you pop out. We're gonna keep talking probably.
All right. No problem. All right. Night, night.
All right, have a good one.
All right.
Man, Bob, she's awesome, man. That was a great guest that you. I honestly, I had no idea who you had coming on. I did get on and check it out a little bit, but man, what an awesome message and really cool, man. Appreciate that.
And I mean, I guess not really to take over, but I, kind of comfortable with it. And I guess I just don't like talking so much. I'm really not that person, believe it or not. I'm not really, but with certain environments or certain community, I just say, if you feel led to do it, it's a level of comfort. I think what she was offering, and I really, as I say, it's always been embedded in me, that balance. There's a lot of females in the industry that are really doing it. And growing up, it was a female industry. I mean, the best herb was always the lady farmer, and your auntie or something like that, your aunt, so, I've always looked to someone, not really highlight, but it's just been a natural affinity that these progressive movements, you understand what I mean? I don't know recently how it became crazy male dominated, if you understand what I mean. And maybe the ladies just like to be in the back, they don't mind us putting in the work because it was really a cash crop, if you understand what I mean. So you have kids to send to school, you have stuff to do. You know that if you put in a quarter acre of ganja, once it comes in, you can at least send them to school guaranteed. The plantains, the bananas, the tomatoes, the other things that you might sell, yes, it will pay, but it's not super guaranteed. The value that you put in to get in the ganja. So the women that did it really put it in just to really make ends meet. And by that, they preserved a lot of genetics because they figured out which one they didn't have to hassle with, which one was release resistant, which one works best in their environment. So they did all these things naturally. They figured out with the cow manure was best when they mix it with the ashes and the potash mixes, and these are things like that I don't really.
No, man. I honestly, I thought it was beautiful because as far as like when we look at doing a soil food web or a whole food web, we get all geeked out as organic farmers on what inputs we're putting in this little ecosystem. And the beautiful part I thought about the permaculture side of it is it's kind of like taking a step back and like almost like looking at everything in even a bigger scope than what you thought of. So like, so I guess for me and kind of the takeaway, trying to relate it to somebody that's indoor gardening in a pot is, my big takeaway from a lot of that is diversity is kind of the key to success in all areas. So like, as I'm looking at, well, I want to have a really diverse bacterial and fungal colony and all these different things going on, but I also need, diverse cover crops and different root systems and different plants putting their roots and working and growing those different biologies to create multiple different little ecosystems that all work together as one big ecosystem that can so it just kind of keeps expanding it out, and she even further like diverse people and diverse countries, and it's cool.
And you see, specifically on the indoor side, a lot of people shy away from permaculture, thinking just because that doesn't apply to me, I'm not outside. But it's really encompasses everything. So your whole space, the airflow. So you have your washing machine and your dryer over that side on the back wall. That's probably going to be the warmest part of your room. Why not put your cloning area that you're going to need some humidity in your basement, So you can think about it that way. If you're going to have to put in a cooling system, let me put a cooling system over there, since that's going to be naturally the warmest part of my room anyway. Let me put everything over there, put my warming system there. Where am I going to walk? Where's the water going to flow? If I should have a leak, what's the best way to clean it up when the whole place gets flooded? So you kind of think about all those things before, so okay, leans this way, this is, you understand what I mean? This is where my panel box is. Okay, in case of a fire, what's gonna be the quickest thing? You know, what's the access points? Where's, you know, so these are things that you think about right through. And once you put in the system, it should be go through. You shouldn't be having a lot of, and then as I said, you cover crops and all these things. But look at the space around you. A lot of time you're wasting of space. They call it moda. So you actually have people that get paid just to go into an organization and figure out how you're wasting space, how you're wasting time. So, you know, say you're running, say, a 50-acre property, and your employees, they use a tool, maybe like twice for the day, but the tool shed is at the top. So it takes an average maybe 7 minutes, but you have 15 employees doing that. So right there, you break it down into hours. Right now, you're losing 150 man hours. Right? If you put a bucket of just those tools that they use specifically every day at certain points of the field, then that walking back and forth to be taught or implement a tool belt system where they have a tool belt on them. So something like that. Now you're taking away 7 minutes twice per day into a more workflow. You see how that kind of adds up. So, you know, you have some simple ways that this whole permaculture and regenerative structure really implements right down, even into the morals of how you treat your employees and everything like that, the ethics of how you write your contracts and things like that. You know, it really goes way beyond. So somebody does a breeding for you that created a genetics for your company. I mean, it should go as far down as everything that goes over the counter, even if this person leaves your place of establishment, your place, you know, something like a royalty maybe come down to him. So it goes that deep. Now imagine that strain that that man is really going to put in. Because he's going to want something that's going to go statewide, international, and going to give a longevity. He's not going to want something that comes up now and then disappears after the next 3 months. You know, he's going to really put some time and research into, you get what I'm saying? So these are things that the whole permaculture and the regenerative focus. And I hear a lot of people in the chat. I hear saw one and two talking about the ITAL standards where the Rasta is concerned. And honestly, to make it, to sum it up, this is, just think of cooking something. You have a standard way of cooking it, and the Rasta is just a vibrational spice that incorporates that permaculture and regenerative structure together. So we have an understanding of how we tackle work. So for example, in the morning time, when you normally have your power session with your workers, your team workers, and say, okay, you're gonna do this, and these are the tasks at hand, the plans are going, and this is how you do it. You know, you have your power session normally with your team before you'll send them out. We might do it with a chanting. So we beat our drums. We set ourselves in that right mental state. So all of us are in that same rhythm, that same vibration. And we chant a few words, maybe read, you know, certain scriptures, certain words of encouragement. And then we go into the daily tasks. So, you know, as I said, it kind of has a rhythm that is mysterious and it's kind of hard, but it's really an experiential product, you know, to provide. So even when I speak and I talk to people about ganja, I really like to speak about the experience. So it's not so much to me about the looks. Yes, I understand looks. I understand bag appeal. But it's really about the experience. Once you can hit that experience of pleasantness with that patient or with that person every single time, that is what you can be, give yourself a thumbs up and know that your job is done. Don't be like, oh, but it was organic and it was pretty and it was full of trichomes. If they said they really didn't like it, then your job wasn't, you understand? It wasn't done. You give them the pleasant experience, and it might be the one that you thought was the worst plant, it was the ugliest one, but that is the one that they like because it gave them that experience. And that is what you should be aiming to provide in all your essence, you know, a pleasant experience, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's so do you do any gardening in pots? I mean, are you indoor or do any of that?
Well, if I have to, cause it's because I move around quite a little bit sometimes. I really am looking for a space myself. Whenever I do find a space like a nice garden or a farm, then I don't have to go anywhere. You know where to find me, you know?
Right?
Yeah, man. I plant down and really get in. But until then, yeah, man, I do definitely some things in pots. Even the other day, I was just passing by my brother's house. So I helped set up a little greenhouse in the backyard of my brother's house and have one by my uncle. And, you know, everybody in the family, I'm trying to kind of get involved so I have access to several gardens, if you want to say, you know?
I like that.
And definitely, it's really, it's a joy to see how everybody is taking it on. But I think for organic farmers especially, pot size is something you really have to bear in mind. So if you're gonna have a permanent space, so if you have a flooring space that you have determined it is, try to make your pots as big as you can. I won't even try to put a limit on it. Just whatever you can comfortably fit in your space. Yeah, you know, if you're really doing it organics, because just the whole cycling of nutrients and allowing the root mass to really get out. If you put it in a 1 gallon organic, you you might be a bit disappointed in your yield, if you understand what I mean. Even if you're giving it the best of the best. I mean, maybe if you constantly, you know, give it your bubbling teas and your supplemental foliars and you really do some additional stuff, you know, you can tweak it. But I'm talking for general growers here, just novice, you know, general growers. I would just definitely say once you can get your pot size as big as you can. In veggies, maybe not that really bad, you know, to cramp them a bit. But once you get into flow and really try to make your pot size as big as you can and really encourage that, you know, high nutrient availability and then the high microbial activity in a quick summary, you know. But
Yeah.
just make it as big as you can.
Yep. I like that too. And you know, you pointed out how like permaculture plays a role in looking at the space and where you're gonna lay things out. And I kind of look at that where like when I was looking at building the soil media, like how you know how that thing is structured and put together is going to matter too as to how it's going to hold moisture, how it's going to flow moisture, how you know what I mean. So there's a lot of thought that kind of goes into like building that pot too. That's where I kind of started with a lot of the organic. What the organic takeover was with Leighton because I figured, you know, starting at soil structure was going to be the for me that was kind of the biggest light bulb moment. And Josh Rutherford talked on it. The Dutch Blooms talked on it last night too about like, you know, if you're gonna do a compost and you're trying to do it properly, you're trying to control temperature and moisture level, and it creates the right environment for the biology you want. And then that was the thought I applied to the soil too, was like, you know, how is that soil gonna, that structure and the watering gonna create the environment that you really want? And that's really kind of the eye-opening thing for me along the way, whole way was is like having the proper biology takes place as you know what I mean, as you get proper structure in the soil, the proper biology kind of happens along with that. It's not a, it's all in unison, you know, everything's kind of working together and in unison. And if your soil isn't right, then there's going to be biology there trying to make the soil right, you know. So that's where, yeah, I thought it was kind of, I'm getting buzzed, so I'm rambling, I guess. Hopefully you're chopping one up, man.
Yeah, I just got empty. I went through it. It's only a half ounce, so I'm trying to get that off, you know.
No doubt.
Yeah, but this one's a bit strong right now because of the rains. As she mentioned, Jamaica went through a whole lot of rain, like a bad rainy season, like 2 weeks straight, then some sun, then like a 1 week straight, then 4 days straight, then so it's really bad. And it was all when everybody's coming in. Everybody wants to come in for the Christmas.
Yeah.
So you talk about, I would say maybe 60-70% all outdoor, really damage, across the island, because all outdoor, maybe even more. I'm trying to be probably generous. So
So are you guys what time of season or what season are you guys in, I guess, down there? Is that like summer, spring, fall,
I would say winter, I guess. I don't know.
winter? You guys, it don't really change, does it? It's always
Yeah, we just call it the short day or the long day. So what you find like now, the sun might go in from maybe like 6:30, 6 o'clock. It might start getting a bit dark. You know, when usually it be like maybe just an hour difference. So it's not totally off. But it just puts our plants into a 12-12 cycle easy. So that's why we call it the short day. Because no matter what plants, once you plant them anytime like after September, October, they're gonna be fairly short, you know. So our long day starts in the earlier part of the year. So you have 3 major seasons, but most growers like myself I pretty much plant once a month at least. I put out seeds. Right now I just set up a space. Like
It's got to be dang nice, man. Once a month you can pause. I love that.
I have an orange gasm here that I got gifted,
Yeah.
and I've been driving over Kingston with it and all over for like the past, like it wasn't popping, so I had it in the car and I didn't want the dogs to throw it over. So yeah, so it's just been hanging out with me for like a couple of weeks. I think it's finally settled down a bit and kind of working its way in, you know. So
Nice.
yeah.
So, what classes are you teaching at the Source Farm?
Well, it's pretty much anything they ask, but it's really what they do there. She kind of takes on the permaculture part, and she has a lot of instructors there and tutors. So I know they have like a whole mushroom course that they do as well. And but the base of it is a permaculture design and permaculture principles and understanding. So you do that for maybe like 3 weeks first. So it's a little bit of theory, and then I think I've seen like our students get like a little bed for themselves, and they get to like half of the bed is already developed and the other half they have to kind of start it based on what they have learned, and by the end of it they get to do it. And then where I come in is that I have a very good friend of mine, Satai. He's really good in terms of the instruction, putting together the manuals, and working with the regulations and the policies and stuff like that. He's really good where that's concerned. So he really assisted a lot where that's concerned and most of the teachings. So it's really just applying now the basic ganja life cycle to the permaculture knowledge you have just learned. So you have learned to grow organically, you've learned about the environment and your composting and your water retention and your carbon banking and different things like that, and how to get your microbes active. Now we're just gonna teach you how what ganja is, and only because it's a special plant. So a similar course like that we would do. We also do some permaculture, and then we do what they call specialty plants. So they might do like a 1 day orchid, then the second day on certain succulents and certain different type of plants, and then maybe a 3 day on ganja. So certain high value crops, we try to highlight them. There are certain berries, there are certain peppers of how to breed them, how to, get them more affinity to our climate and acclimatize. So certain high value crops, but they put the base of it in that permaculture course. So for the first, 3-4 weeks, you do like a permaculture boot camp, and then the additional, so that is where I really would get involved. So a lot of times Sata takes them through the plant life cycle, cloning male versus female, identifying hermaphrodites. Some of them are surprised. Wow, cannabis is male and female and hermaphrodite. So it's really eye-opening to a lot of individuals, and then the latter part now, when especially when you're about to graduate the class, that's when I kind of go in and do a evaluation. Prior I try to do one. So they do a pre-presentation, like a dry run, and they develop a concept or a module of how they can apply it to their life. So if they plan to go back to do a farm, or if they plan to go back to do a dispensary, or just to do a garden at home, whatever it is, they just apply what they have learned and how they would upgrade it, or set it. So basically try to go in a day before the exam, give them some pointers, and then of the day of the exam, I'm, sitting as an examiner, or, if I'm asked to, run an evaluation basically, I just give a little pointers here and there.
Yeah.
And that's really it. And then I try to tack on like a tour of a cannabis farm itself. So I bring them up to one of our sacramental grow spaces, or maybe a legal cannabis farm that we have association with that will allow it at the time. Because some of them, depending at the time, they might not want visitors. Some of them will allow it, so depending if we time it right. So that's where here she talk about the tour to the farm. So it was really good now that you've got to learn about ganja. Now you can see it going at full scale, full operation. It kind of brings it all home. So that's the space I can kind of work, easier for me to work. So yeah, that's really where it is. So anything along the way, of course, I do assist, but that's really where I have been helpful so far.
I like it. I'm getting baked over here, man. This stuff's pretty good.
Yeah, it's the same thing I'm saying. I don't know if it's Christmas or what, but there's just some things that's coming in that, man, everything is knocking. Like everything. I can't complain. Like, I know people are complaining the drought in Jamaica, and sorry for any Jamaicans that's out there, but I don't know, I have a family support so structure that has really been keeping me nice. Like really nice. So
That's awesome, man.
give
Um,
thanks.
how do you apply some of that stuff when you're, because I know you do, like you mentioned a cannabis field and stuff. Do you apply any of the permaculture
Yeah,
farm?
man, it's
How do
a part of you. So you have to. So even at a commercial scale, instantly, you try to cut out all waste. One of my biggest pet peeves is trellis. Like, I totally understand it, but the carbon footprint of the plastic and it's not reusable and it's so much of it. But, so certain things you have to do with it, and certain things you definitely try to mitigate it, your water wastage, and then definitely implementing some nice cover crops so you never have to till the soil again, getting them to really understand that you can, and especially at scale, it's probably beneficial to do a no-till system or a big raised bed kind of system instead of running 100-gallon bags, which is not a problem because if you're in a flood prone area, then you get what I'm saying, that part of the field, yeah, let's put some 100-gallon bags out there. But for the rest of the field, that's normally all right. Let's set up a nice, because once you can have all that activity happening, the 5G is fully connected. It's not retained to a 100-gallon bag. So it's like your Wi-Fi system is only contained now to this. This is what you can be assured of, and you're not really totally assured. But once it's out there, and you have that going, then the plants can really be in communication and receive and get what they want within an organic structure. You know.
So that whole like soil intercommunication and food web is like you guys are looking at that across the whole farm, basically, is what you're saying. You're
Yeah,
trying to
man. Yeah, man. So tractors are not allowed.
okay.
Yeah. Soil compaction. After a while, you really try to. So if you have to do it, you do it early. You try to do it one time and try never do it again. You understand? So you really do everything in mind. You don't want to call him back in next year or call him back in 3 months. No. If you really have to do it, yeah, because we understand at a commercial scale, you have to move with, the investors' time and money and certain things.
Yeah.
So that is really how you kind of mitigate it. And you show them the long, you see, once you can show them the cost savings, especially if they're in it for the long haul. Oh, they like savings, believe me. Oh, so I'm going to be just as profitable with spending less money in 3 years. I'm all for that, Bob. Yeah, so it's look at things like that. You can invest in a mini worm farm, help somebody to set up some bins, and if we can really get some good castings, believe me, there's nothing else you're gonna need. We can now consider our fertilizer bill off, and let's focus now on how we're gonna get down our pesticide. Because in general agriculture, 60% or so, is really a lot of the inputs. The fertilizer costs, a lot of these things. So if you can pick any one of those columns, so once you go into any farm and you look at their accounts and you look at the high, what they're spending the most on, you can see where that spend is. And once you can get that down and then still producing quality, if not better, or, in terms of volume, then, you're in business. And that's really what it is. So 100%, I cannot stop it. And anybody who I'm associated with, if they're not really along that path, I don't involve myself. Not to say that I'm cocky or I'm really, but I just don't want to be represented that way personally, and I don't want to be a part of certain things, even for myself. So anybody that I'm really assisting, if you're not gonna be of that mindset or moving towards that mindset, then and that's why I really have to give my hats off to those ones that I've really met in Michigan, even though they've been doing a lot of battles and doing this. Once you really show them that it can be done, they're at least willing to give it a try. you know, and then they're willing to invest full on once they see it can be done, and to educate yourself and educate, you know, the people around you in the community, because now you have to be influencing even the farmers beside you, not to be spraying pesticides, or at least tell us when you'll be spraying so we can try to whatever we can do to mitigate it. I don't know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Run some Kaigan water, some I don't know, some protective sealant, you know, whatever it is. But if you can also show your neighbors that even though you're planting corn, even though you're planting blueberries, even though you're planting, you know, you can use the worm cast, and there are certain things that we have found very beneficial. You have problem with caterpillars? Yeah, you have some BT that can be used, and you can pick the blueberries within a couple of days. It doesn't matter, you know. So you have certain things that, yeah, man, and they're really glad to know about it, you know. So it's just like that. It's a ripple effect that's moving along, and I really like the whole organic movement that's moving along, you know. And to be any a part of it is great.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love the just the whole expansion of the whole consciousness. Like it's like becoming infectious, really. You know, I just see more and more people that are just drawn to the uniqueness of it, the ability to be really truly, you know, unique with how you grow and how you know your herb ends up. You know, that's what drew me to it. A lot of it. Yeah. There you go. Nice farmer cut. Straight off there. Is that how you store them in the jar, Bob? You like them with the leaf pretty heavy on them like that?
Yeah, I just can't trim it fast enough, you know.
True that. Never.
And this was some that I had left growing while I was traveling, and my sons took care of it. He's like 13, and the other one is 9.
Nice.
Yeah. So they cured it down real good, you know. I mean, cured down real nice, like real nice. You see,
Yeah.
you see all the leaves fall down on it, so you know they got the hang on it real good.
Yep.
Come on, come on. I mean, I can't complain. Yeah, even with the leaves on it, and you smell it now, it's like lemon masala. You know masala, that spice named masala. It's almost like curry, but
Okay.
yeah.
Huh.
So it's like lemon rinds and masala, or more like lime, more
Like
like lime rinds and masala. You know.
that's cool. So they're all into it, man. I dig that too.
Well, put it this way, it's right beside the pepper tree and the pumpkin and you know the tomato, so it's not really any different. If the pepper tree needs to be harvested or the pepper tree falls down, they have to take care of it. I
Yeah.
was telling a story, and I don't remember which one of the shows, but one of the trees had a big sativa tree that grew up. And apparently, where I had planted it grew on the side of the mound. So I have like a raised bed, and it grew like right on the side. So when the rain fell and it get heavy, it like fell right down on the ground. And my son was trying to put it up, so he tried to prop it up, and then it would fall back down. And he said he tried to tie it to it, you know, and it just wasn't working out. He's like, it's too heavy, Papa, because it was maybe like 3, 4 weeks into flower, you know.
Yeah.
So anyway, after a couple of days on the ground, he noticed all the, because it was down like this now, so all the limbs start springing up. So he's like, Papa, I think I found a new way to grow ganja. You can just tie them down, and then all of them would grow up like this. So you end up with a big bush, you know, instead
Yeah.
of one pineapple, one Christmas tree. And I was like, think it's kind of been figured. I didn't want to burst his
Hey,
bubble, you
man.
know. But as I yeah, keep using the intuition, and you know, these are the things that it comes along. You know, the turmeric is coming up now, and the turmeric blew a nice blossom. You know, and I was like, I didn't know that turmeric blossom. You know, so I've even reaped turmeric before, and I've really never noticed the blossom. Honestly, I just see the leaves drying down, and I just kind of dig it, and I see turmeric, and I pick it. So I call up somebody, and they were like, "Yeah, that's how you know when it's ready. As soon as the blossom dries down, then you can harvest." I was like, "Who knew?"
Right.
You know, so it's things like that. You know, so yeah, man, I encourage everyone use your intuition. So even with organic farming, your nose knows. So just like how we smell our herb, you're going to know what a good soil smells like. You need to know what a good compost smells like. You need to know, you understand, you will get to understand and appreciate these things eventually after a while. When some things I can't explain it. Certain, maybe I can if we have a conversation. What are you smelling? And maybe we can, is it peanutty? Is it more this? Okay, that's all right. Oh, that's minerally. Okay. If it's kind of smelling off, you can kind of, ammonia like or bleachy or whatever, then you can say, no, don't put that on your plants. You get what I'm saying? So these are the things within the organic farm that you really have to pay attention, and the experience is where it's at. So don't worry if the plant is not nugget and it's not this, but if the plant is praying and the plant is healthy, that's a healthy expression of a plant. You have to accept it for what it is.
I like that theory. How do you go about plant nutrition then?
Me personally, once I build the soil good, so I do like a kind of mixed system depending where I'm at. But right now, at this year, I've incorporated like some mini hugel bed mound kind of system. So it's not really hugel culture. So I use like maybe, all right, so like instead of putting big logs in, I put a lot of twigs, a lot of twigs, and then mostly run them through the wood chipper. And then the leaves and so forth, run the lawnmower over the leaves so they are very fine. And then I still put compost in it that I had stacked up. So a lot of fruits and stuff in there. And then what I did now is just put by the topsoil on top of that. So I know I could get even one crop from the topsoil, and by the time the underneath start picking up, I'll be all right. So really once I set it, then that's really what I do. But during in between, yeah, a little worm casting drench every once in a while. That's about it. If I can get, like, I don't like to see my soil, I call it naked. I don't like to see my soil naked. So it has to be covered up. So if my cover crop is not on point, I might just, run some dry leaves through the lawnmower again and just cover it, just to cover the soil, just to keep it covered. If I can put some wood chips in it and mix it in just to keep it covered. So it just kind of depends what's going on. So I just have certain parameters that I just don't let go out of bounds, but pretty much I kind of let it just kind of let it do its thing.
Yeah, I like that. Do you lay the leaves of the plant down then, right on the soil or the pot?
Sometimes it depends what time. So like if I have a lot of insect pressure, probably not. I'll just pick them off and put them in the compost bin. If it's a rainy time, then I'm not too worried about it because shit's just gonna hit the fan anyway. You know.
Yeah.
So what you're gonna do? You just follow up after the rain, and I know rain's gonna ease up. That's what I'm saying. Once I know that is a parameter that if I get too much rain, I make sure I have some lactobacillus or something that I would not normally use. That's when I kind of draw for something like that, or maybe, some peroxide or some, hydrogen, something like that to kind of up it, or maybe I just save some rainwater and then baking soda, depending what I have, where I am, you kind of use what you use. So you have certain parameters that kind of apply the knowledge, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt, man.
So I'm not a stickler on KNF, I'm not a stickler, but I tell everybody, understand it even, it can't hurt. Yeah, and it can work. I know it works, but if you're doing a full system and you're really planning to do a full recipe system, like when I run a home garden, that's completely different. But if you're doing a business, then definitely you're gonna have to have something, because remember, you're not gonna be the one doing it. You can't set up a business that if you are not there, it goes to shit. You really have to have a business where somebody or whoever is working has parameters and they know what to do and can read, understand, and follow. Have a nice recipe that they can follow every single time. And once you can have that implemented, then you're good to go. So you can't really trust people. You have to trust the system and make sure the system that you implement is a workable system that can bring you to market. And once you have that, yes, there's going to be tweaking along the way. That's why you hear me say parameters. I really don't like to use SOPs as much, but you really have parameters that, once it goes over that, this is what needs to be done. Once it goes under that, this is what needs to be done. And you kind of generally, have it right. But yeah, if you don't have that in place, it doesn't make sense. You can't be running a business like that. You really have to have a business running off of a system.
I like how little you mentioned any kind of nitrogen or any of that. It was compost, and as far as nutrition and all that, because that's one thing. Like I mean, starting down the organics road, it was like, yeah, I came from Nectar for the Gods, which is a line, but there's like 11 bottles, I think, if you run the complete line. I mean, it's a pretty in-depth, system, I guess, or whatever. But the more I realized about that, it was like, okay, so now I'm going to try to put all that amount of fertilizer in the pot to begin with, and then your mind starts thinking cups, and you should be thinking teaspoons, and that's been my whole learning curve too, is just like dialing everything like less. Less is more. Everybody's always said that. I've heard it a million times myself, but it's like, even to this day, I'm dialing back less water. I'm dialing back less in.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is that we get this feeling that we have to be doing something.
Yeah.
No, you really shouldn't. You just have to have confidence and let the system work. And as I said, you have the parameters. You know what the plant looks like when it's droopy, or when it's this, or when it's that. But once you understand these parameters and you don't push it, that is great. Now, what I think is great in terms of stepping up your expertise as a grower is that once you have mastered that system now, that you understand what's going on, then you kind of understand the parameters to push. Okay, maybe I can supplement a little foliar here. All right, I can start dropping my humidity during this week. And you understand what I mean? Then you can start tweaking it, but don't start with that one. And I think that is how the bottles kind of have you trained. Okay, it gives you that sciencey kind of laboratory kind of important feeling where once you take a step back and be the bushman, it really works after a while, So I will never say that it doesn't have its place. But definitely, taking a step back, as you're saying, and doing less is a big training or a learning curve that you have to take on, or just know from upfront what you're gonna have to do,
Yeah, and trusting the system that's like the hardest part of all, because like you say, you always feel like you got to be doing something, because if you're bottle feeding or whatever fertilizer regimen you're running, it's like, feed water is your kind of your mantra, right? Like feed water, or whatever you're doing, water feed, any of that. It's all kind of in your head, So like, I think when you first make a transition over to organics, that's like the big eraser that you need to get out of your head too a little bit, is that every third day you're supposed to be doing some shit to the plant. Like, it needs you to grow, right? Like, it doesn't need you.
They've been doing this for years,
Yeah. Yeah, I dig it, man.
Yeah, man. Just like that, my brother. I mean, even this small garden that I have here, I mean, as I said, I left the seeds when they were like 2 weeks into flowering, and some of them are younger. Some of them I just transplanted them because I'm flying out the next morning, And my sons, they just call me, yo, what do I do? And I was like, nothing. Do I spray anything? No. Okay. And after a while, I didn't hear from them till like the rain started falling and shit hitting the fan, I'd get a couple messages. Papa, I found a male, I cut him out. I found one that looks like a hermaphrodite, Here's his picture, but I cut him out already. So I just send a message. Why you send me the picture? Because if you already cut him out, it's like, it's already gone, But I trust you, You said you're doing it. What I'm talking about is in terms of nutrition or putting anything in there, going to mix up anything. They had none of that. None of that. All they had to do was just, they weren't sure when to harvest. Some, regular questions like that. And those should be the kind of things that you want to focus on. You don't really want to have to be worrying about, other stuff. I mean, think about it. When people used to guerrilla farm, you go out in the bush, you dig your hole, you put your mix in there or whatever, you put your clone in, and you just kind of leave it. Maybe you come back 2-3 weeks after, or 4 weeks, you take out your male plants, stuff like that, and then you leave it again till harvest. You understand what I mean? You weren't trying to get caught. So not to saying you can get that super careless within your grow, but yes, definitely apply some of those principles. Treat it like a gorilla farm. Put your farming mix together, put your set stuff together, set it properly, water it and leave it. You know, check up on it when you need to check up on it, and that's it. You know, and get yourself a hobby, man. You know what I mean? You have some communal aspects that you really need to get involved in. You know, some things that's going on that I think that's very important. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, man. Shit, I just had a question too. I don't know. I'm still not. I'm drawing a blank, man. I don't know if you had any other direction to go with it. With how we can apply it to somebody that's doing it indoor. Otherwise, that's it. Did you freeze up? Oh,
What's that?
that's tobacco.
The internet going in and out.
What's that? Oh, I think he is going in and out. Touchbacks.
Yeah, man.
That's tobacco. Is that what you're holding up?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you grow that in your yard too?
Well, my family, you know, not me directly. I have some of them that go in the yard, yes. But mine are not ready as yet. So like on a whole now, what is your style of growing? Or what would be your considered your style?
Mine is soil food web, I guess, is kind of the style that I've been going for. But yeah, mixed like a modified coots mix, I guess is what I call it, or a Cornell mix. But I've brought in.
What's been the proudest thing you're growing since there? What's like your bragging rights since you've been growing? Like, what can you say? Yo, Bob, you see this? This was my winner. Like, you don't got
Wait,
this.
man, you come to Michigan, I'll have a rainbow menu for you. You can try.
Yeah. All right.
But yeah, right now probably platinum cakes, probably one of the more pretty ones.
Well, I just say overall, like, what's one of those that you can say, yeah, I know I knocked that one out of the park. Like, that one was, yeah.
Yeah, raspberries, I know right now is one that's knocked out of the park. That's been for a long time.
Yeah, man. I find that with some straight. I call it the, you know, like a dog that you don't really like, but you already took care of it for so long. Like somebody told you, like, yeah, this is a mastiff, whatever, and you raise it, and when it grow, you like, nah, this is like a fucking Australian mutt or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you already raised a dog, it took, and it works good with you. It became, so I just find that some strains, they really just do good with you, if you understand what I mean. Like in terms of the no expectation mark, you know, like they really resonated, and whether with your garden or with your experience, you know, I like those ones that I can say, man, you know.
Yeah, I mean, so I got a range of them that I would call from difficult to grow to easy to grow. Like that raspberries I mentioned kind of falls in that easy to grow. It's really easy to clone. It's always happy. It's always praying. You know, even when other ones around it are sad, it's always just like what else, you know. So that one kind of, I guess that's maybe a little bit more where I'm fond of it too, you know.
Fuck yeah, man. We like the kids that don't give us any trouble. They go to school, they do their homework, they stay on the honor roll, they don't get into trouble. We love.
Nice, perfect for the structure, you know. It's like, yeah. So,
yeah, man, love them. When does it start getting warm again in Michigan?
oh shoot, probably we're just getting into the winter now, so
He's
like
like,
it kind of pushed back a few. I mean, I don't have any snow by me. I mean, I know Eagles shoveled, but I haven't. So I'm quite a bit south in the Grand Rapids area, but so yeah, we'll be probably till March, April.
Well, if it got pushed back, that sounds like April, May. Because if you got started late, maybe you're gonna have a late one too. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Global warming's kind of been. I don't know. People argue if that's a thing or not, but I mean, when I was a kid, I remember it was snowing by Halloween. I remember that that was pretty rare, but we've had that. And then I remember too, like it was a coin flip whether we had a white Thanksgiving, and it was never a question whether we were going to have a white Christmas, hardly ever. But now it's pretty much, yeah, we don't get snow till,
Get a little bit of water. So, 1 second.
yeah, no problem. What's going on, chat? Mr. Joe Y. Robert, Mr. Green Fingers Thomas. That's a long one. What's going on, guys? Those are right now. Mr. Bill Sid, Chad Westport. So, what was her name again? I said Nomi. Was that not right? That wasn't her name, Bob?
Well, I call her Miss Auntie Nicola, Miss Nicola. But I mean, Naomi. I think Naomi might be like, I have to check. It's so bad. Like, for example, what's Smiley's name, Bob? I don't know. His name is Mr. Gardens. His name is fucking Smiley Gardens. But it's still my brethren. Like, I'd vote for you any day. You understand what I mean? So it's kind of like that. I really have to check, honestly. But
no, I got
it. But Auntie Nicola.
I like it. Auntie Nicola. Yeah, man. No,
there's a couple ones, even like the mushroom culture in Jamaica. It's really, man, it's something I can tell you. There are some herbs in Jamaica that you don't have to do mushrooms. Like, I don't even want to, it's not like a tourist pitch I'm trying to put, but you understand what I mean? There are really some herbs in the Caribbean that, my brother, hallucinogenic is an understatement, So, but the culture itself now, with how the medicinal approach has been taken to cannabis and in the medicinal approach towards mycology, it's bringing those now to me in a safer light to the public, because I really, it's not something that I really appreciated getting out there like that. Like, it's not something I'd want to become recreational, which is what a lot of these substances end up become, if you understand what I mean. A lot of these medicinal, so the ayahuasca and all these things, you find people just taking it as another way to get high. Another seeking to get high. Which I don't really have a problem with, because I think maybe mankind and a whole we kind of were born to get high, if you understand what I mean. And when I say this, put it this way, like a little child, when they're just born, just imagine like, one that's just start walking. One of the first things they find amusing, they spin themselves around in a circle, and just that dizzy feeling, they just laugh and they just find it so amusing. But it's that altered state of being that is very attractive to us as human beings. So I'm not going to deny it, that it's not there. You know what I mean? But we still must have some control within ourselves that we can now realize the use and the purposes and then not abuse these substances. For lack of a better way of putting it, Getting a little too much oxygen in my lungs, Give me 1 second, let me reload.
Yeah, do the thing, man. I'm gonna do the same. I think we missed one of the 20s, but
it's like, I think I got so confused earlier because I'm just figuring out when you guys say 420 is really every 420. I thought it was every 20 minutes. So that's why you notice I've been pacing myself. So I'm not falling into the trap again. I was so diligently hitting every 20 minutes on the Eagle Show and all these other shows. And I'm like, what? It's only every 420.
Oh, I love it.
Language barriers, you know, what can I tell you?
I know you're the one person that Eagle won't challenge to a smoking contest. So.
Oh man, it's not a challenge, man. It's just a joy, you know.
Right. That's funny. I don't ever try to do that. Some of that stuff, like, I mean, even like, hitting dabs a ton of times, like in a row throughout the day, like, there's something about it that just doesn't feel right either. It's like, I don't know. It's heavy on you.
I'll do it for the fun of it and hang out, but honestly, like, I do have friends that if you really want to go to a smoking competition, I'd bring them. Like, I'd enter them. I'd pay the entry fee, like Rasta Spice, Smiley, Uncle Pablo. I mean, I have an uncle that's maybe like 60 something, and I'm sure he don't smoke, right? And his pulls are big. He pulls are like, I take baby jars. I think my lungs have shrunk over the years, and when he smokes, like, he disappears. You don't see him again. Completely disappears.
No doubt. Yeah, I would.
Crazy, But we just give thanks for the moment, That's stuff.
Shoot, yeah. What's going on, chat? Modern Genetics, Lemon Hoko, hanging. Michael Rasta Grow, Volcana, Wheaties. Chat's always hanging.
I'm not sure if it's cannabis or what's that thing he uses. What's that thing he uses? Discard. Well, man, I have to try to figure out how to get onto it, man. I mean, this cannabis thing, it's really interesting, and I'm interested in it. But I'm just not understanding how to navigate it that easily.
The Discord?
Yeah, both of them. I don't know. I'm missing something, but
Me too.
I'm gonna try again tomorrow.
I suck at them things, man. I don't know how to do it either. That's why I had it for a minute, and then I was just like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. So then I dropped doing it.
Well, Instagram was pretty easy because my boys like it, my kids are on it. So they were like, yeah, Papa, we can hook you up, blah, 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 blah. And I'm all right. So anything that they're into, I can get into pretty easily. But if they're not into it, I'm screwed. I'm out.
I like that.
Yeah, man.
That happened quick too to me, Bob. I was like going through school and stuff. I was kind of a computer geek there for, you know what I mean, through like junior high, early part of high school and shit. And even out of high school, I was into electronics, fixing cars and whatever. And yeah, man, like you stop doing that or you fall behind on computers for a minute. And it was like, I got a new computer. I couldn't fucking do shit on there. I don't know. It was one of them moments where you kind of like, holy shit, I'm the next generation that doesn't know the fucking technology now.
Yeah, man. I mean, I thought that was cool. I had an Excite account. You remember Excite and Hotmail? I still have. So, but they looked. I finally got this laptop the other day, and they were telling me that how do you know it's an old laptop? It's because it still has a CD drive on it. Right? And
I was
I'm
mad
thinking,
because mine didn't. I was like, where's it fucking put these in?
no, but as all happy, I'm like, I'm actually upgraded. I'm in the system now. I'm a part of the thing, and you're telling me I'm still out there. Come on now.
Yeah.
So I was cleaning out some stuff, and I found like a floppy drive, a floppy disk. And if you remember those when we had to in high school, that's how we had to do our projects on. It has like 1 megabyte or something like that on it. And he was laughing. He's like, 1 megabyte. And he was cracking up. I was like, yeah, it could hold a couple reports, I don't know.
Yeah, if it was too many pages too, you had to have 2 or 3 of those discs to fucking make it all work. Yeah, I remember that shit. I remember them days for sure.
and slide them to the side, and yeah, man. You remember even cassette decks, so you had to put like a piece of cotton in it to like tape over it because I didn't want the tape on the cassette deck, so I had to show them how a cassette player works, and
There it goes, man.
so the CDs, I guess, I don't know. It's all well. It's so funny because we call them thumb drive in Jamaica, but I think it's actually jump drive. But just for anybody who knows, it's not a thumb drive, or maybe it is. I don't know. Let me not try to correct any technology terms. Fall into some shit.
It might be.
Yeah. But I can really agree that the technology has really upgraded like super, super fast, like rapidly. And likewise, I think that's why the youth nowadays are really have some kind of hope. A lot of time I get opportunities to speak at, universities, classes, things like that. And they're doing courses on economics and minorities in this and, new industries. A lot of them doing it on culture and reggae and, whatever it is. But it's a lot of young people in terms of, 18 to 21, 22, undergraduates or graduate stuff like that. And the way you hear them talking, it's really, it gives you hope because you really need legislative action to really enhance our moves, if you understand what I mean.
Yep.
So when you have people, the policymakers and the new generation that's coming up, that will be thinking that have been influenced by the propaganda.
Oh, there you freeze. I think he froze. What's going on, Johnny Tennessee? K-Zoo, DLP, 2372. What up, man? That was a good way to come back in, by the way, Bob. I like that. It's not, so that was a good way to come back in. You kind of froze and disappeared, and then came back in, and you were puffing on. Big old
Well, I just figured that anytime it does that, it's giving me a time to reoxygenate, take out
Yeah.
some oxygen, and so I just use the opportunity.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I was gonna say if maybe we should close this one out, and we'll save the info that was on there. We can open up a rabbit hole and hang out, smoke, and you like that one, Bob?
Yeah, man, anytime you're ready, man, no problem, As I said, certain individuals, anytime you call, whatever I can do, my brother.
Yeah. No,
I'm
I
most
appreciate
happy.
it,
And
man.
I don't see myself as any guru. You have people been calling me some names that I've been kind of uncomfortable, But truthfully, if there's been any form of pleasantness or any, more positive influence on anybody and I can provide it in any way, shape or form, whether ganja related or otherwise, I really give thanks for the moment and, for the opportunity. And if that is the purpose being fulfilled, I just keep my cup pouring it out as much as I can. And the universe or Jah will just keep pouring into I and I. And we just, keep passing on the blessing. So like a herb for the poor, but it's POUR, that's what I call it, herb for the poor. So I
Absolutely.
soon get somebody to get me a little logo. I want a little jug or a little child just pouring out beer, love and blessings all over there. But one day, but that's really just what it should be all about in my opinion. So thank you very much again. Respect.
Much
Enough
respect to you, Bob. Too, I appreciate it, man. I don't know if you hop out, I'll close it out, and yeah, Eagle will probably fire up the next rabbit hole. So, and then hopefully you can take a leak and jump back in. Cool. Awesome, everybody. Yeah, man, that was just to kind of recap that just the whole thought and encompassing the vibe that she brought of, everything works together. We all have, if we all have our hands open trying to offer what we can to each other, then that's how everything should be working. And, I hope you guys all enjoyed it. Each of you took something away from it, and I know I did. And we'll catch you on the next one.